It's the first weekend of summer, a time when many from Wisconsin descend upon the idyllic setting of Elkhart Lake. But on race weekend, attention is focused not on the lake, but to the race venue located just south, Road America. The town's population is listed at just under 1,000. But today, tens of thousands have come to this storied venue to see the stars of IndyCar take on their longest lap of the season. Road America is a favorite for both drivers and fans. The 60 acres here are full of campers who set up only a few feet off of the 4-mile course. And not only is Road America a sight to see, but it offers some of the most unique vantage points to view from. Today, fans have come to see if the series points leader can hold off Team Penske. Scott Dixon leads the championship, but has all 4 Penske cars on the grid in front of him. They include Simon Pagenaud, the defending series champion, will start 4th. Joseph Newgarden, the young American in his rookie season for Penske, he will start 3rd. On the front row, our most recent race winner and the defending race winner, Will Power. And on the pole, Helio Castroneves, the 42-year-old Penske veteran who captured his 50th career pole yesterday and hopes to convert it into career win 30 today. Welcome to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon, where in 45 minutes the green flag will drop on today's 220-mile race. And the weather is fantastic. Yes, it's summer, but it feels like spring. It's very windy, but 65 degrees, no more than 70 degrees, and it has been a perfect weather weekend here so far. Thanks so much for joining us. It is great to be back in Wisconsin. We're about 60 miles north of Milwaukee, 60 miles south of Green Bay, and one of the great road courses in the world is here, Road America. My name is Kevin Lee. We've had so many things going on this weekend as far as storylines, and this track is one of the storylines because of the vantage points for the fans. When you think about classic sporting venues, we think of a couple not too far away from here. Lambeau Field, home of the Green Bay Packers. Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. Those are fantastic, but here, unlike those, you can experience every part of the venue. You can sample each of the 14 turns, find out where you most like to witness what's going to happen, and there are long straightaways and passing zones aplenty here at Road America. Now, as far as storylines to get to this weekend, we have several. We've just seen Formula One earlier this morning. We have another Formula One veteran that has entered in the field, Esteban Gutierrez, who said, Detroit was kind of a test to see if I liked it. Well, he's back, and he's going to finish the season for Dale Coyne Racing in place of Sebastian Bourdais, but we still may see Bourdais before the season is over. As far as speeds and competition, it's been all Team Penske in practice. Joseph Newgarden was fastest of the 4 Penskes, 1, 2, 3, 4 in practice 2. Then yesterday was Simon Pagenaud, just barely quicker than Will Power in the 3rd and final full practice. In qualifying, it looked like Will Power would have it, but in the final seconds, it was Helio Castroneves storming to his 50th career pole. That is 3rd all-time on the IndyCar annals. Helio knows how to celebrate, and he's also standing by with Marty Snyder.
Well, Kevin, if you didn't tell from that footage yesterday, he was a little excited to win his 50th career pole. It's always exciting to see you win a pole position. This is a 4-mile racetrack, Helio. Is being up front still important at a place like this?
Always important to start at the front. Obviously, it's not the key to win a race, but it helps tremendous because you have a clean air. You can dictate some pace. Here we are talking about saving a lot of fuel, so whoever is going to be behind you might follow your lead, and there was a lot of things that helps, and that's what we're looking for. We want to make sure that we hit our number, make sure that we do our thing, and hopefully that will pay it off in the end.
I heard you mention it twice there. Obviously, strategy is going to be a huge part of this day. You don't have Roger Penske on the timing stand, maybe for the first time ever for you. Jonathan Duguid, your longtime engineer, will call the shots today. How will that change things for the 3 team?
Well, it's interesting because Roger has such a leader, is such a leader in this type of situation. It's special making decision. So I'm going to have to listen to my guys. But the good news is he left a good foundation here. So I'm really trusting the entire group, and I know we're going to continue doing a good job.
Kevin, he had that hard hit at Texas. Despite all of that, he's still just 21 points out of the championship lead. They're thinking win, but in the back of their mind, they're also thinking about that championship.
Oh, can you imagine, Marty, the celebration of Helio Castroneves in his 20th IndyCar season season, wins a championship, 4 times the runner-up, 12 times 4th or better. Well, we've talked about why we all love Road America. It was a home for IndyCar starting in 1982 through 2007, really a casualty of reunification of open-wheel racing. So for that near decade, everyone kept asking, when can IndyCar get back to Road America? Well, last year, the request was accepted.
The 640-acre parkland that is Road America today is alive with the sound of IndyCars once more. For many, the wait of almost 10 years has been too long, but that wait is finally over. And look at the crowd. And it's time to bring the action. Look at them weaving and diving and ducking. This is going to be sketchy. Will Power, again, the commanding lead now, running his own race, running his own pace. He's got this one in hand. Wow.
Conor Daly locks him up. He goes around into the gravel, slams into the tire barrier.
Boy, is this going to be quite the finish.
Kanaan's got to run.
He went out on the grass. TK, the veteran, Tony Kanaan is on fire. Superhero move. He could close the gap to Power.
2 corners to go. If Tony Kanaan can close, he might have a chance up the hill.
Twin checkers out. Will Power will go to victory lane in Road America. What a race.
And we didn't see too much of him there, but Graham Rahal had a strong 3rd place position there last year, making the podium. And coincidentally, you started 6th last year, where you start this weekend. But the story is, you saved a set of tires for today out of qualifying. How will that help?
Well, I mean, the Penske's, I think, are in a similar place to me. I just knew what was the best I was going to do in qualifying. It was 5th, you know, if we could beat Dix. And so I just decided let's not use the reds again. And, you know, my car on blacks has been extremely loose all weekend, been hanging on. So, you know, the reds were a good gain for us. I wanted to keep them fresh for today. So, you know, we've got tons of new blacks. We've got the 3 reds, 1 new set, and 2 that have got barely any laps on them. So hopefully it works out. You know, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be all about hitting your fuel number today. You know, I'm sure there'll be a lot of desperate racing out there, guys trying to force the issue and stuff. So if we can stay out of trouble, have a good strong run, good point stay is key for us.
All right, thank you, Graham. And of course, Graham Rahal often races much better than he qualifies. Katie?
And Jan, Simon Pagenaud will start just in front of Graham Rahal in 4th. Simon, at this point last year, you led the points. You now trail Scott Dixon by just 13 points. Can you come away with the lead today?
I hope so. That's the goal. Team Penske has been tremendous. All 4 cars are at the top of the field this year. So we definitely have an opportunity to do something really good. It's interesting. You know, there's a lot of tire strategy going on. You'll see. I'm starting on the black tires, so I hope that's the right strategy. But I expect something interesting toward the end if we can switch to a different compound compared to the others. It's also going to be a fuel-saving race, so we're going to have to be better than the others at that. And I think you guys are going to see something quite exciting.
Kevin, Simon's been extremely competitive this season. He's finished outside of the top 5 just twice.
Yeah, last year's champion is definitely one of those that has a great opportunity to win the championship this year. The grid is busy. We're getting closer and closer to starting this one. Well, I mentioned all of the different vantage points that fans can watch this race from. Let's detail some of the most notable ones. At 3 long straightaways, including at the end of turn 1. There's a long one going into turn 5, and then the left-hander takes you back uphill, eventually leading to the carousel. Turns 9 and 10, very challenging. Need to get that right to get the setup down to Canada Corner, the 3rd long straightaway that pushes 190 miles an hour. By the way, it's called Canada Corner because it's the northernmost portion on the property, 250 miles away from Canada. And turn 14 has been very difficult this weekend, leading to the uphill and a lap around this 4+ mile course. We're going to talk with Will Power coming up in just a moment. He won this race last year, and he is also our most recent winner 2 weeks ago at Texas. So much for fans to do. We put Katie Hargett on the zip line last year. Maybe she'll be there before we're done. Stay with us here from Road America. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. Welcome back to IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon from Road America. Working our way towards round 10 of 17 today for the Verizon IndyCar Series in one of the classic American road courses. We are about 60 miles north of Milwaukee, south of Green Bay, in a town of Elkhart Lake, with a population of 967. So you see the 4-mile road course, but starting in 1950, they raced around the village, a little over 3 miles, and then the next year it was expanded to 6.5 miles, and you can still drive this course. SCCA raced here back in the day, and can you imagine the challenge of making your way through? They still have markers around the course. It's actually registered on the National Register of Historic Places. In 1955, the permanent road course was built, and IndyCar started racing here in 1982. Very unique course, classic course, challenging, and a very high-commitment racetrack as well. Well, there's no more high-commitment racetrack than what we saw 2 weeks ago at Texas Motor Speedway. IndyCar there for the 21st season, and safe to say, it was again wild. 22 IndyCar machines are fired up and ready to go. Strap in, hold on tight, it's IndyCar at Texas.
Going.
Tristan Vautier hasn't been in an IndyCar race in a year and a half. Vautier to the front, goes around the outside to take the lead here at Texas. Oh, and we've got Alexander Rossi around and into the wall.
James Hinchcliffe lost it coming out of the pit box, half-looped it, and then Castroneves got pinballed over into Sato. Castroneves in the wall. I wonder what happened here. Oh, he's going to hit the inside wall real hard as well.
And Carpenter, what a save. Y'all good? Yeah, I got damage.
Hinchcliffe in the Aero car, remember, he was a lap down. Now he's back up the fifth.
Here's the big one.
So both Dale Coyne cars, both Schmidt and Peterson cars, both Ed Carpenter cars all go out in that accident.
Dale Coyne is not happy. He went down to have a word with Tony Kanaan.
He's 2.5 car widths to our left, and it just goes right. I don't know if he knows the corner's left. Either his spotter didn't tell him we were 3 wide, or he didn't care.
Why didn't the 5 car just stay right there? The 5 car was trying to crash all night.
Chip Ganassi just said that maybe you should have lifted because you were in the middle of 3 wide. What's your thought on that?
I think it's adorable.
Great.
Settle in. This looks like it's going to be a good one.
Newgarden got loose, made contact with the outside.
Power stays out in front. That's Dixon right behind him. Sato coming to the bottom side of Dixon, and they turn. Dixon goes around. Sato goes around.
They were absolutely driving like maniacs.
For the checker here, buddy. Great job today. You were the man.
Tonight, it was about survival. A war of attrition and willpower survived to win at Texas. And Willpower was one of the few championship contenders that got a result there, so he jumps up to 5th in the championship. He was way back in 17th after a couple of races, 10th just 2 races ago, so he is definitely coming. And we have so many that are in the mix. The top 4 separated by 20 points, and then there's Willpower, who's with Marty.
Kevin, haven't we learned over the years, never count Willpower out when it comes to a championship race? And what did you tell me in Victory Lane in Texas? Here we come. Do you feel that momentum building with a 12 team?
Actually, all year we've been super strong. We've definitely had the pace. Obviously, a little bit of bad luck at the beginning, but yeah, we're right there, man. I mean, we have a chance to win every race we go to, and I feel like that for the rest of the season. They're all tracks, can win on every discipline, so we'll go for it.
Obviously, this place was kind to you last year, led the most laps, won the race. They've added 5 laps to this race. How has that changed the dynamic today?
Yeah, just if it doesn't go yellow at the beginning or at some point, it'll be fuel safe for the whole race to make it in 3 stops. So there's some interesting tyre choices because the blacks are quite a bit slower than the reds this year, and I think you'll see some passing because of that.
All right, everybody's talking about all the tire choices on pit road right now, and it's going to be interesting on this first stint just to see exactly what happens, Kevin.
Yeah, we're hoping we see some differing strategies here today. Now, meanwhile, Willpower not impacted by what happened at Texas with all the damage, but 14 cars took damage, some very significant. I think we had a couple of write-offs, cars that can't race anymore. We were down to pretty much 6 at the end of the race that were unaffected. Still, technically, there were 8 running at the finish of the Texas race. Entertaining, certainly. Expensive, definitely. It was to the tune, Robin Miller has reported, $2.5 million. The total tally around the paddock for parts. And here's kind of a breakdown. People are always interested in what things cost. Well, there's what some of the things cost that needed to be replaced, and then we're not even getting into the couple of teams that had to replace the tub. So Robin Miller, it was a very expensive day. What's the reaction from the paddock from what we experienced at Texas, and what fallout is there?
Well, Kevin, I said 1.8 million after talking to the Delora guys and Dale Coyne and some people. And speaking of Dale Coyne, you've lost 3 cars total this year, and I don't know how many you got left, but is this the most expensive season in your 30 years?
Yeah, I think so.
And are we saying 500,000, 600,000 at Texas alone?
Yeah, Texas is probably about 550, yeah.
So what's really impressive is how you guys rallied with the little team you got to get these cars back on the track, because you can't have many spares left.
No, I mean, we ran here and tested on Wednesday after Texas. I mean, the guys came back and they had 2 torn up cars, and we had no spare car, but we had a tub for the one that would kill the tub and a gearbox. Both of them got destroyed in Tristan's crash. But the guys worked hard, and we got up here and tested on Wednesday with 2 cars.
What's your budget for crash damage a year? What do you estimate before the year starts?
About 500,000 or 600,000.
So you went through that the first race. That was Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So three cars destroyed, tub damage, things like that. Next year it'll be a little bit cheaper with the new cars.
The new aero kit will help. You know, the parts will be cheaper, and there'll be less of them. So yeah, it'll help quite a bit next year.
All right, well, good luck. I hope they finish on all 4 wheels, both cars today, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Robin. That's the car of Ed Jones. Esteban Gutierrez also in the 18 car. And there's Takuma Sato. If you weren't with us in our bonus coverage, Marty Snyder reported that Sato sat out the warm-up today because of a pinched nerve suffered yesterday in practice. He's not sure at this point if he can go the entire way, but remember, he's 3rd in the championship. He would only score limited points if he didn't start the race, and it's been a very busy couple of weeks. Obviously the Indianapolis 500 win, then good results in Detroit. Unfortunately, the crash at the end of Texas, but right after that, a quick trip, not very quick actually, back to Tokyo, and he was greeted by hundreds of journalists, thousands of fans, special gifts. I hear he received an actual Acura NSX, and a great time. Takuma Sato has always been a superstar in his homeland, and even more so now. Very well liked in the paddock, and everyone is enjoying the fruits of the victory at Indy, and another swig of milk for Takuma Sato back home. Meanwhile, when we talk Road America, well, we need to talk about who's done well, and it is Takuma Sato's team, at least the namesake, Mario Andretti. He's won it 3 times. The owner, his son, Michael Andretti, also has won 3 times. And one of Michael's drivers, Alexander Rossi, has been a story this weekend too. He was quickest in the first practice, second practice quick early, but then he was one of several that's had some problems with turn number 14. And Alexander Rossi is going to be the focus of our Verizon in-car streaming. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. There's Scott Dixon. We're going to hear from the 4-time champ and the points leader coming up in just a moment. IndyCar from Road America.
Road America is probably the best track in North America. It is American racing to me.
Definitely a marquee event, I think, for IndyCar racing in the Midwest.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful location. It has a great atmosphere.
Every bit of that track, there's history, and it's such an incredible place to drive an IndyCar on. One of the places that, as far as the road courses go, that you can really race well, you can draft. The push to pass is worth a lot there.
Yeah, it's very fast, it's very long, and it's very flowing.
I love the long straightaways and how they're incorporated into that track. And you can't beat the fans at Road America. They came out big for us in 2016.
Oh, drivers love this place. Fans love this place. It is so unique. Great setting here in Wisconsin near the Elkhart Lake Village. And it is the longest track that IndyCar will visit. Over 4 miles in length. So let's compare it to some of the other lengthy tracks in the world. One is that IndyCar will visit the next to last race of the season late in the summer at Watkins Glen. There's Monza as well, historic in Formula One racing. Here's Road America, just over 4 miles in length, which, by the way, is the length around Elkhart Lake. I'm told that's why they picked out 4 miles for the length of this track. So many compare it to Spa in Formula One as a similar course. Townsend Bell is certainly familiar, just back last weekend after finishing on the podium at Le Mans at 8.5 miles. And then there's the granddaddy of big-time tracks, Nürburgring, 15.5 miles. Well, not long ago, we detailed the problems for Scott Dixon. He had a chance to win, certainly a chance to score big points running second when he was collected by Takuma Sato's crash at the end of Texas. Dixon, though, still because of the attrition, finished 9th in that race, and that's helped him keep the championship lead. He's finished in the top 10 in every race but Indianapolis. Now, there's a reason why we're going to show you this horrific, massive shunt one more time, which Scott Dixon somehow has been able to climb from and only suffered a bruised foot and has continued racing. Just scary, scary stuff, and it scared us and it scared fans, including an Indianapolis girl, 9-year-old Lucy. Right after she saw this, luckily she soon found out he was mostly okay, but she wrote a letter to IndyCar in care of Scott Dixon. Scott got it and had a chance to read it, and just this past week, Scott made a visit in Indianapolis to surprise Lucy. She knew she was getting some gifts, but she didn't know who would be there.
How are you? I get a big hug.
Yes.
It's very nice to meet you.
Dear IndyCar, I love Scott Dixon, and as you may know, he just got in a big crash. So what I wanted to tell you is that thank you so much for keeping him safe. I saw him limping on TV and just wanted to make sure he was okay. I've loved Scott Dixon since I was really little, and when I saw the crash, I got so scared and started crying. Again, thank you so much for keeping him safe. Sincerely, Lucy.
Wow. I get another big hug. Thank you so much.
And a big smile came over Scott's face when he saw Lucy come on the screen here. But Scott, I want to focus forward to today. How do you take the fight to the Penske's?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've been struggling a little bit this weekend. You know, Friday practice, the number 9 just wasn't that strong. So we've made some inroads to making that better. But the NTT data car, we'll have to see. We had some problems this morning in warm-up where we couldn't get fuel pressure, which we ran 1 lap. So hopefully we fixed the problem. It's not something we can check until we get out on track. So that I think is the biggest thing hanging over us right now. But I think the pace and the exceptional fuel mileage that the Honda's getting, we'll have to hopefully try and rely on that and maybe have a little bit of luck. But if we can at least try and split up a couple of them here at the start, it'd be nice.
You're now celebrating 14 years with your strategist, Mike Hull. How does that consistency in your ear pay off on track?
Yeah, it's paramount. I was told actually we won our first race together in 2003 at Homestead, my first IndyCar race. So that's definitely the best way you can start off. But we're also celebrating 25 years of Mike being with Chip Ganassi, which is quite the milestone and definitely very something you don't see too often, in this industry. So it's been a pleasure to work with Mike, and hopefully we can 14 years later get something as good later today. But he's a great person to work with, very dedicated, and only one thing on his mind is to win, so it's definitely a perfect match.
And they'll try to do that from 5th today, Robin.
All right, it's Sunday, it's Road America, it's sunny, it's grid run time, or maybe grid walk time. Young man.
Hey, what's up, Robin?
Live television, 2 races in a row. Last year you went from 20th to 8th with a broken left hand. Hell, this is a piece of cake. You're starting for 3rd. How you going to do this today?
Oh, yeah, it should be a lot easier today. No, I think we're going to be all right. It's about beating our teammates today, making sure we take care of each other. We want to have a Team Penske victory, but the DeVilbiss car's been good. Got to have a clean start and try and outrace him in fuel mileage.
There's no Roger Penske here. No team orders?
He's not far away. He's watching. He's always watching.
Big brother?
Yeah, that's
good
right.
luck. All right. Now, there's a rumor, the green beanie. Oh, I see him. Yep, there he is. We'll talk to these guys. Excuse me, sir. Hate to bother you.
Oh, stop it. This guy.
Look, turn around, Mr. Letterman. I think that you've done this long enough now that possibly you should be a strategist. No, you know racing. You can call strategy.
Just ask me a question.
What lap are you going to pit?
I can't tell you that.
What's your fuel mileage?
We're doing very well on mileage.
And how much money are you giving Graham Rahal here?
More, not enough.
Not enough. All right. Bye, Davey. Let's ask Graham. He'll tell us. All right, what?
You picked Dave over me.
You ran third. Well, no, we're not ignoring you. You ran third here last year. How do you beat the Penskes?
We got to get the fuel number. We got to wear them down. We got to get them to use overtake. We can get them to use a little bit of overtake, then they're going to burn more fuel, and just work them hard, man, and get them to use up those tires. But they look strong, so it's going to be tough. Obviously, Pash starting on new blacks is a little bit of a different call. I'm surprised there, and Newgarden's using his new reds right away, which is going to burn them up. But we'll see how it goes, man.
Letterman don't want to call strategy for you.
It's probably a good thing.
You think?
Probably a good thing. So
he can't see over his beard.
He can't, but let's hope we have a good day, good points day.
Have a good run. All right, one more quick one. Excuse me, fellas. Who's around here we can talk to? Oh, probably nobody. Oh, there's Max. He's got a pretty girlfriend. I thought you... Max.
How are you?
What do you got today, buddy?
Hopefully...
Top 5, top 10.
Hopefully the winning car. We've got a fast car. If we can stay out of trouble and have some good stops, there's no reason why we can't win this. So.
All right, good job of qualifying. Now the band's playing. I'm going to sing. Oh, no, I'm not going to sing. We're going to commercial break. We're coming back to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Kevin.
All right, thank you, Robin. Always smooth on the grid run. There's a lot of hills here. I'm just glad there are none on pit lane. That's best for you. Well, Townsend Bell and Paul Tracy are coming up in just a moment. You're watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. So much drama over the years, so much great racing and history as well. It's Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, round 10 of 17 of the 2017 Verizon IndyCar Series season. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to be here on a perfect day. I'm Kevin Lee, Paul Tracy, a two-time winner here and a subject to a lot of those interesting moments over the years. And Townsend Bell, just fresh, back from Le Mans, podium for the third time in 3 years. Congratulations. PT, let's start with you. Why does everyone, drivers and fans, why do they love this place?
Well, this is probably the longest track in North America that IndyCar races on, and it really lets the cars do their thing. High top speeds, takes some downforce to get through some of these corners, but the guy who's going to win today has got to have it figured out with his aero and his drag, and you're going to have fuel savings in the mix. They've lengthened the race, Townsend, by 5 laps, so that's really going to make it questionable whether guys do a 2-stop or 3-stop strategy or a 4-stop strategy.
And 4 stops seems to be unlikely. Most are thinking 3, but let's talk about the people that might have an advantage in Team Penske. Top 4 in qualifying. How long do they play nice, though?
I don't think much longer, because Team Penske has 4 drivers starting up front and 4 drivers all in contention for the championship. I think much of the firework potential could come from the Penske drivers today. Let's look back at Long Beach. Back in 2011, there's been contact between Penske teammates before. Castroneves on Will Power down at turn 1. This was Sonoma back in 15. Montoya again on Will Power as the championship was up for grabs. Joseph Newgarden getting pretty aggressive there with Montoya. Newgarden wasn't a Penske driver yet, but he was earlier this year in Alabama as he goes wheel to wheel with his teammate Simon Pagenaud. Something that's interesting, Roger Penske is not here this weekend as we see Castroneves climb in his car to start from the pole. What does that mean with the boss away? The children are probably going to play. Will they play nice? I think it's going to get very, very aggressive between these 4 as somebody looks to assert themselves in this championship.
And also keep in mind, in the front 3 rows, they're all in the top 7 in the championship, so there's more than just Team Penske to focus on here today. Well, the green flag is not long away. Drivers are strapping in. Thanks for watching IndyCar Live, presented by Verizon. The Command opening ceremonies and a green flag all coming up from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. In the quiet town of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin resides one of the country's historic tracks, Road America. With its flowing turns and angulations, perfecting this 4-mile course requires precision steering and flat-out speed. Last year marked the return of IndyCar after a 9-year absence. A race that saw Will Power lead from pole position and take the win. A win that helped him climb back into the championship fights. In the Wild Texas race 2 weeks ago, the Aussie came away victorious, starting his rise up the IndyCar points ladder. With 8 races left, the championship is wide open, and points leader Scott Dixon, still winless, looks to extend his lead with a win today. And fans are assembled today outside the tiny village of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and 21 of the world's greatest drivers are assembled to compete on this 4-mile road course, and we're nearly ready to get started.
Are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome today's Grand Marshal, President Kitchen and Bath Americas for KOHLER, Chris Baldwin, as he gives the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Ryan Hunter-Reay, fastest in the warm-up today. Can he make his way up to the front from mid-pack? Marco Andretti has equaled his best starting position of the season. He will start in 8th, and so many other storylines down to the grid. We start with Jan Vikas.
And of course, Joseph Newgarden made a name for himself here last year because he started this race with a broken clavicle and a broken hand. He started 20th, and he rallied back up to 8th position on a very physical racetrack. That may have been one of the things that caught the eye of Roger Penske. Now he's in a Penske car with a great opportunity to win this one, Marty.
This year's race is 5 laps longer than last year's race. Had it been 5 laps longer last year, this guy likely would have won, Tony Kanaan. He wound up finishing 2nd to Will Power, and he was coming at the end of the race. But this weekend, it's been a struggle. He starts towards the back of the field. He'll have to find some magic here at Road America to get another podium, Katie.
Marty, on the other hand, his teammate Max Chilton is extremely happy with the car this weekend. Remember, Chip Ganassi Racing didn't get a chance to test here at Road America. When I talked to Max earlier today about why he thinks there's such a big difference between him and his teammate Tony Kanaan, he said, because I love this course. It's so much like my favorite course, Spa in Belgium, with the flowing corners. It really plays into my style. He thinks he's the Ganassi that can take the fight to the Penskes today. Robin?
Well, Marco Andretti qualifying 8th isn't a headline, but it's progress. It's been since 2015 he started this far up in a road race. He hasn't won in over 3 years. He hasn't had a podium in 2 years. He started off this season with Brian Herta calling his races. He was fast in every practice session, but he couldn't transfer that into qualifying. This weekend, he did it. He had one of the fastest laps in practice. He qualified 8th. This may not be the week that he wins the race, he breaks his losing streak, but what might happen here is he might get a shot at a podium because he's been fast for 3 straight days, and that's what they've been looking for, some consistency, Kevin.
Making their way around this long, winding 4-mile course, just 2 pace laps before we go green. And let's look at all the challenges of Road America. Townsend, take us through a lap.
Kevin, a favorite of all the drivers, including myself. I've raced here several times along with Paul Tracy. Down at turn 1, it's fast. You really are hauling the mail through there. 100-mile-an-hour minimal speed, and then the long shoot down to turn 5, heavy braking zone. Let's catch up to the carousel in the kink, the fastest corners on the track, and then down at Canada Corner, another heavy braking zone, a great passing opportunity as you come through 14 up the hill and down that long front straightaway. Drivers love this because the canvas is very broad. Let's look at this comparison between Will Power on your left and Alexander Rossi on the right, and just look at how composed the hands are for Will Power. When the car slides, Paul, he just makes a small correction where Rossi's just fighting it. That's the difference between a great handling race car and one you're gonna have to wrestle all day long.
You see right there, it's classic. One car has more grip than the other car. Rossi has been struggling all weekend. The car's been sliding around. It's been snapping around at the rear. As we look at the grid, Helio Castro Neves, the old man as I call him,
overhauls his teammate in qualifying. That was a huge surprise because Will Power had everybody covered all weekend.
Well, it's the strength of the Penske balance, the handling of their cars that led to the lockout of the first two rows. Newgarden and Pagenaud starting next to each other on row 2. Both these guys, I think, will be hugely aggressive on the start to try to jump Castro Neves.
Scott Dixon, he's going to want to just sit on the back of these Penske cars. Everybody's saying he's going to try to go a lap further than the Chevys. He might have the possibility of doing it. We know that the Honda makes good fuel mileage, so he's got to stay in contention.
Looking back at row 4, a couple of other contenders here. Max Chilton with a strong qualifying performance, and as Robin spoke about, Marco Andretti doing a great job to qualify outside row 4.
James Hinchcliffe really frustrated after qualifying yesterday. He was smashing the steering wheel with his hand. He said he got a bad set of tires, felt that he should have been in the top 6. And Charlie Kimball had a great run at Texas, but it didn't end up very well, so he's looking for a good result.
Couple Hondas on row 6. Ed Jones with another very strong performance from that rookie driver. And Ryan Hunter-Reay qualified 12th, but was fastest in this morning's final practice.
You see Carlos Munoz and Spencer Pigot. Spencer Pigot's been quick all weekend, but didn't put it together in qualifying, so look for him to move up in the race.
And back to row 8. Alexander Rossi started off the weekend as the fastest driver, really frustrated to end up that far back in qualifying. And then Tony Kanaan, we know his teammate Scott Dixon, Charlie Kimball and Chilton, they have fast cars, and Tony Kanaan knows how to make positions on the start of the race.
Esteban Gutierrez, first time here in a long time, but he was here in BMW cars when he was a kid, had some time in Formula 1. He's looking for a good result, and J.R. Hildebrand has been struggling all weekend.
Going back to row 10, Mikhail Aloshin barely made it here after visa issues leaving France from Le Mans, but he'll show up to start 19th, and then Takuma Sato has had some issues, a little bit of neck pain. Not sure if he's going to be able to last the whole race. Incredibly physical here, and then back in row 11, the struggles continue for Conor Daly. He has to be frustrated with that.
We have 6 fantastic looks on board today to take you through, including the aero cam from Mikhail Aloshin starting in the 19th position. Not far ahead of him, starting 16th, the NTT data on board of Tony Kanaan. That's always one to watch, especially at the start of a race. How many spots will he get? James Hinchcliffe is going to start 9th, but Lucas Oil on board today. He thinks he has a little better race car than where he qualified. Can he move up? And then this unique visor cam, the helmet cam on board the Gale car of Graham Rahal this week, and a sponsor that's been with him going back to his teenage years. And up front on the front row, the Verizon on board for Will Power, just nipped at the end of qualifying by his teammate Helio Castroneves. Castroneves and Power will be racing into turn number 1. And the Verizon streaming on board is last year's Indianapolis 500 winner, Alexander Rossi. Also starts a little further back, but we think he might have a pretty good car. Go inside IndyCar all season. Download IndyCar Mobile from Verizon. Well, choices for where drivers want to start as far as a tire strategy is concerned. The blacks, the primaries, last longer. They're more durable. They're not quite as quick, and these are the list of drivers starting on the primaries. We have the softer alternate red sidewall tires, quicker, but will they last an entire 14-lap stint?
Look for a quick start by these Penske guys. The lights are out on the pace car, so look for these guys to try to create a gap already. They don't want to stack the field up, Townsend, and have guys have a chance at making a big dive down at turn 5.
We'll be interested to see what happens with Pagenaud, that bright yellow neon Penske car. He's on that harder black tire. It's cooler track temperatures right now. It might be hard on this first lap for Pagenaud.
Not much of a lineup here. We've got a lot of separation in the field. Normally get the whole field lined up. It's going to be a quick start.
Go when you're ready.
They've got to go up the hill, and then we'll see the green flag. Lined up side by side, climbing the hill.
Not a great start for Will Power. As we see, Joe New is coming up the inside.
Ready to roll from Road America IndyCar 2017. It's Penske on Penske at the start into turn 1. Castroneves leading Joseph Newgarden, who's gotten up to second, and Graham Rahal has picked up a position.
Just like I thought, Simon Pagenaud struggling on the harder tire. He defends up the inside. He lost 2 or 3 positions there. Look at Marco Andretti going on the outside of Chilton. Marco Andretti with a good run down to turn 5.
Simon Pagenaud, not a good start. He's lost 2 or 3 positions. He's going to get overhauled here by Chilton and Andretti, and Hinchcliffe looking down the inside. This is the danger zone right here. Everybody gets through clean.
Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal further up side by side. This is where it gets tricky. Up under this bridge, it's slippery through here. Really tough to keep the car together. There goes Hinchcliffe in the black and gold Aero car.
And we saw Dixon in that blue car get up to 3rd position as we ride on board with James Hinchcliffe chasing Marco Andretti. Castroneves got the clean jump. It was Newgarden in that orange car that got up to 2nd. Orange and white, De Vilbiss is the sponsor. And there's Simon Pagenaud, last year's championship leader in the bright yellow Menards car. He's dropped down to 6th.
I tell you what, I think this is shaping up right now. I think Castroneves knows, Townsend, that he's not as quick as these guys. At race pace, we've got a move happening here with Will Power.
Scott Dixon looking to the outside in the blue car. They're going to go side by side here. If Dixon can hang on, no, he got pushed out onto the rumbles. It's impossible to lay the power down. So bumpy out there.
Castroneves has a 2.5-second lead on the first lap. I think he's not going to try and save fuel and just go like hell and try to do a 4-stop strategy and take off from the field, because in the past he hasn't been able to do good fuel savings, and that's got him into trouble in some of the races where he's had to do an extra pit stop.
Scott Dixon was hugely aggressive there. I think he knows he has to make a move early to try to mix up the Penske party. Now we ride with Hinchcliffe, who's working Marco Andretti. Marco gets a little wide of the apex there. See what happens as they come down on this long straightaway. I think push to pass is active now. Yes, it is.
And Jones working on Alexander Rossi and getting that spot there.
Wheel 2, we just heard on the steering wheel of Alexander Rossi, so these guys are already going into fuel savings mode. We're hearing Graham Rahal is going to get a penalty. Hinchcliffe does a big slide right there, but we're hearing Graham Rahal might get a drive-through penalty or give up a position for blocking.
Really seems like a bigger struggle than I would have thought to get tire temperature on that first lap. A lot of cars sliding around. Let's take a look at the start again from the helicopter. There you see Pagenaud right up underneath the gearbox of Will Power, but then Graham Rahal's looking pretty racy. Dixon forces his way, and Graham just goes for it on the outside. 3 wide in turn 1. I've never seen that, Paul.
That was a slick move. It'd be interesting to see where he got that penalty for blocking, because he got clear of Dixon right here as they go on to turn onto the back straightaway. Some contact at turn 5 with Spencer Pigot, and Hunter Ray almost turns Hunter Ray around. He knocks the front wing end plate off of Spencer Pigot's car, so that's going to damage his car. The handling won't be good for him.
Let's take a look here at what happened with Hinchcliffe. Same corner, down in turn 5, going to the outside of Marco Andretti, and just no grip out there. Out of the groove, runs wide, loses at least 1 position to Kimball, and then tucks back in to try to refocus.
And Graham Rahal has just given up a position to Simon Pagenaud, so let's see if it's deemed that he did something to affect Pagenaud. That's the start there. That's what we saw.
That was a bold move. Graham Rahal, one of the best racers in the series. There was an inch to spare on either side of the car between the edge of the track and Pagenaud's car. That was brilliant stuff.
Let's stay on board this and we see what Rahal was penalized for. Again, just giving up 1 position, and Pagenaud now has moved in front of Rahal. So Pagenaud is 5th, Rahal 6th, all chasing Castroneves, Newgarden, Power, and Dixon.
Hey guys, when they told Graham about the penalty on the radio, he had 0 reaction, and that might have been what it was, moving over just a little bit, pushing Scott Dixon in the grass. But what they said you got to give up 1 spot. He had no reaction. He said, I just got to figure out where I have to do it on the racetrack. So he did not squawk at all about the penalty, and gave it up cleanly, by the way, that 1 spot.
Well, he made a great start and moved back to his original starting position, so all for nothing. So he's got to settle in now, stay calm, don't get upset, and just make his fuel mileage. He's in contention.
And meanwhile, for Simon Pagenaud, we noticed him dropping a couple of spots, but really in pretty good position, because keep in mind, he's the only one up front that's on the primary Firestones that'll last longer. They're not going to be as quick, especially at the start. But Pagenaud has only lost ultimately one spot to 5th.
Dixon has broken up the Penske juggernaut this weekend, so as we see Dixon here in 3rd place, he's pulled a gap, Townsend, on Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, but I think Kevin's right. Pagenaud just being very smart on the start to stay out of trouble. Don't allow any contact. Don't damage your car. Hang in there. The race will come right back to Pagenaud, especially even in this first stint as he's on the harder tire and then he gets to finish on the softer reds. We think that's the tire to have over the balance of the race.
Chilton's got a run right here. He's got a run on Rahal as he goes for the inside. Rahal leaves the inside open for him, so he's been warned already for blocking, so that was an easy pass.
All clear.
Not much of a fight there from Rahal.
Just keeping an eye on push to pass. Graham Rahal has not touched the button that gives you extra boost down the straightaway. Max Chilton's used 17 seconds. Rahal has all 200 seconds, and I wonder if that's part of Rahal's fuel strategy. Save the button for later, get the mileage now.
I'm surprised at Townsend. He didn't even try to defend the position or go down the inside and protect the inside.
Well, an entertaining start here at Road America, especially back in the pack, but up front it's Helio Castroneves trying to win for the first time in 3 years at one of the classic road courses in America. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by KOHLER, living on the leading edge of design and technology since 1873. And by Pengrade Motor Oil. Make the grade. Stay with us from Road America. Back at Road America, one of the great and most historical circuits in the country, and IndyCar has been racing here since 1982. So let's look at track facts from Mike's Hard Lemonade, and this is Hector Rabake with his first and only IndyCar race, his last IndyCar race as well, for a track that first opened in 1955. Sports cars for so many years. NASCAR's top cup level raced here back in the 50s. Xfinity still races here along with the IMSA WeatherTech Series, Pirelli World Challenge, motorcycles, so many other series have the pleasure of competing at this race course. In the early going here today, it was Helio Castroneves, the pole sitter, getting the jump. Joseph Newgarden jumped to 2nd, moving up a spot. Will Power, 1, 2, 3. Penske is 3rd. Scott Dixon is 4th. And then the 4th Penske, Simon Pagenaud, is running in 5th.
And you see Helio Castroneves out front, Kevin. He's built a little healthy lead here. Then they put him into fuel-saving mode fairly quickly. That's going to be a key. How much fuel can you save? Lap 13 is when these guys are targeting to come to pit road. He will not hear on the radio today. Roger Penske, that's Jonathan Duguid, his longtime engineer. He's the one making the strategy calls today. He's the one telling Helio how much fuel to save and when to pit. And Helio told me himself, I'm not a fan of saving fuel. Jan?
And we're having pit stops. We're seeing Alexander Rossi stopping up front. We're also seeing here towards the back, J.R. Hildebrand. These cars are ones that are going for a now 4-stop strategy. The leaders, almost all of them, will go for 3 stops today and be locked into a very similar strategy. These are the kind of drivers that are gambling. If there's a caution now, between when they pit now and when the leaders pit, this would play in their favor. If there's not a caution, this doesn't really help them.
This is still good for us, though, from an entertainment standpoint. We want to see if you can run fast, clean laps. And Alexander Rossi, just a few moments ago, thought that Ed Jones was blocking him.
He was blocking him, but he was proactive. Ed Jones was in moving over, knowing Rossi had a run, and he took the advantage away from Alexander Rossi. This is where Scott Dixon tried to make a move on Will Power, Paul, down in turn 5.
Well, he got the Pruitt fade. Will Power protected the inside. Scott went for the outside. He got pushed out wide. And as soon as you get out on those rumble strips, you are dead meat. There's no grip out there. So he lost some time there. And now he's got to chase his way back to Will Power. He wants to wrestle that spot away from him and shake up this Penske juggernaut that's been going on all weekend.
Speaking of Penske juggernauts, that 5th car in line, Simon Pagenaud, starting to find the pace now as those Firestone Reds lose some of the grip and the primary, the black tire, starts to show its durability.
Like all weekend, we're just using the tire. Front tire's completely shagged, completely gone.
And you hear the transmission from Graham Rahal. This one of the groups that's going to pit here early, trying to make it on 4 stops. If you're going to do this 4-stop strategy, number one, you got to be pretty quick. You got to be efficient on pit road, and you need as much clean racetrack as you can get. But he gave up a ton of spots, was not using any push to pass, saving it, trying to make that fuel number early on. Sticker black tires, the primaries for him, Katie.
And Marty McHale-Lotion had just 16 laps of practice before coming into the race today. A poor qualifying. They think maybe some engine problems as you see them add a turn of front wing there for McHale-Lotion.
The only way this 4-stop strategy works, Townsend, is that you have serious paces. We see Graham lock up going into turn 1. Rossi right behind him. Rossi will have a run on him because he's on hot tires. Hildebrand goes by Lotion, but you have got to just go like crazy and lay down qualifying laps from now till the end of the race. Otherwise, it does nothing for you.
Well, it's about a 40-second loss for a pit stop. So if you're doing the 4-stop strategy, you've got to find 40 seconds at least on the racetrack somehow. The leader's doing 1:45 lap time, so you need those 4-stoppers to be looking at the low 44s, maybe high 43s for lap times. We'll be keeping an eye on that as Castroneves continues to do a great job up front. Paul, you told me before the race you wondered if Castroneves could hold race pace. Right now it looks like he's got it.
Well, he is. Right now he is holding the race pace and he's in fuel savings mode, so he has had a tough time over the last couple years.
Good job on fuel there. Gap is 1.9.
Trying to match Will Power and Simon Pagenaud in terms of pace, saving fuel, because those two guys are masters at it. But right now, Castroneves has got it under control. Katie?
And Paul, we've talked about how hard it is for the rest of the field to take the fight to the Penske's today. But well, let's talk about Scott Dixon. His strategist, Mike Holt, just came over the radio and said, we're thinking about the same in-lap as those Penske's ahead of you, so it's going to be really hard to get the next one. That next one being Will Power, as you see his teammate Tony Kanaan pitting. Tony Kanaan using a lot less downforce than Scott Dixon. When I walked through the paddock, I noticed that earlier. Marco's up. We'll go on off to Kevin.
And Marco taking a trip through the grass, and he's back on the track now as we see Castroneves will make that Kanaan back out after just under a 9-second stop. So another car going off strategy. Rossi going by as Kanaan comes back in, and Graham Rahal, that's him in the orange car, the Gale car that's coming up towards him. Remember, they nearly came together coming off pit road last year.
This is the 4-stop battle right here, Kevin. All these cars, Graham Rahal on hot tires, Kanaan on cold tires, but it looks like Kanaan will be able to have the advantage getting out of pit lane and trying to work up the temperature as he goes down to turn 5.
So that's a big jump for Kanaan, who started back in 16th position, and Rahal started in 6th and has fallen back to 10th as we watch what happened to Marco Andretti.
It looked like he just got in hot, locked up the front tire, and just ran out of room on the exit. Long trip through the grass and back on track. So he started out, had one of his best qualifying, and now he's down to 15th from starting 7th or 8th at the beginning, so it's not going well today.
Nice to see the folks at Road America smooth that runoff. That grass used to be a lot bumpier. They've done a lot of grading here in the offseason. The parking lots are beautiful, and it really saves the car there for Marco Andretti.
Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi is one of those we've seen on the 4-stop strategy. He just turned the race's fastest lap on his soft red sidewall Firestones. Helio Castroneves in charge so far, more than 2 seconds in front of Joseph Newgarden. Thanks for joining us at Road America today with Paul Tracy and Townsend Bell. I'm Kevin Lee, Katie Hargett, Jan Beekes, Marty Snyder, and Robin Miller on pit road, watching Helio Castroneves continue to expand his gap. Marty, he's leading Joseph Newgarden by over 3 seconds.
And Kevin, you can see how that gap has grown. Jonathan Duguid came on the radio, said, Helio, turn up the wick a little bit. We want you to widen the gap to 2nd place right now. They're going to pit in about 2 or 3 laps. And Paul, you know, it's interesting because Helio admits he's not very good at saving fuel, and he said, this is not the best part of my game, saving fuel while making pace. So a very difficult task for Helio, but right now doing a very good job.
Well, I think Townsend, I think he's going to need a bigger gap than 3 seconds. If he pits a lap earlier than these guys, I think they'll either come out dead even, or maybe Newgarden will be ahead, as we see Carlos coming out of the pits in the Voigt car. He was moving up steadily right now, currently 14th. So he is really the first guy on the 3-stop strategy, which is, I think, still a little bit earlier. I think you're going to see guys go to 13 and lap 14, maybe 15.
Yeah, I don't think you can make it on 3 stops pitting on lap 11, so maybe the tires were starting to give up for Munoz there. But back up front with Castroneves
Be interesting to see if he comes in this lap or on 14.
I think what we'll look for is what happens when they blend. If they don't pit on the same lap, we could see some really contentious moment down at turn 1 as one's coming out of the pits and one Penske will be at speed.
Well, he's really putting the hammer down. He's built up a nice gap right now, but the gap needs to be big. It's almost 4 seconds, 3.7 seconds. So we'll see right now if he dives for the pit lane and Joseph Newgarden stays out. Nope, one more lap, so he's making good mileage.
Well, I think you really have to get into lap 13 to pit and make it on 3 stops.
Well, to summarize that, I agree with you. First of all, for Carlos Munoz, that's a little too early to consider that a 3-stopper. Now you look at these 2 Penske cars. We focus in now on Joseph Newgarden. They told him on the radio a few laps ago, we are going to stop in 5 or 6. Now, mind you, that's been 2 or 3 laps. We'll check in. We think that by that gap that you're describing, when you see Joseph Newgarden backing off from the lead, typically that means you're going for 1 more lap. Marty?
Spencer Pigot coming down pit road, guys, and heading down here. Their fuel strategist is not here this weekend because his wife is expecting a baby, so Ed Carpenter doing the fuel for the race team this weekend. They're going to put on those sticker red tires going on for Spencer Pigot. See those wing adjustments on both sides, big wing adjustment for this 20 car. He actually thought he got some wing damage on the start of the race, but that is clean. He leaves pit road. We expect all the leaders coming on this lap in what will be a very busy pit road.
And if these leaders can get to their pit stop without a caution, that is mission number 1, because that is the hope for those on the 4-stop strategy. For one of their pit stops, they need a caution to come out before the leaders of pit after they have taken their service and try to cycle to the front.
Look at Spencer Pigot trying to defend Graham Rahal. Goes around the outside. Rahal on hot tires. Nice move from Graham Rahal. And you're a sitting duck there, Paul, when you come out on a cold day like this. Cold track temperatures, at least. It's mid-60s ambient, but the track temp is pretty cold for those to come up to temp.
Get overhauled by his teammate here as he puts the on him. That's a sketchy move right there between teammates. That could have been a disaster right there.
I was expecting a Sato moment there from Texas going off into the grass. That was J.R. Hildebrand, and he still gathered it up for the break zone.
Wouldn't be surprised if they called a... Oh, here we go. In on 13, Marty.
And this is the lap that everybody needed to get to. This is going to be a crazy busy pit road. You're going to have all 3 Penske cars pitting. Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be pitting. Takuma Sato also pitting. So all these lead lap cars coming down pit road right on their strategy where they wanted to be. Elio Castroneves hits his mark perfectly. They're going to take off those red tires and they're going to put on sticker primary black tires for Elio Castroneves. He's going to have to be held for just a second. He leads after an 8-second stop. He'll have to merge in and around his teammate Will Power, who's putting on sticker primary black tires. 7-3 on the stop for Will Power, and teammate Simon Pagenaud also leaving. They put on sticker red tires for Simon Pagenaud. Believe me, he won those primaries off because he was the only one who started on those of the guys up front.
The Penske that did not pit was Joseph Newgarden. That's the car that went 1 lap extra as Rossi goes to the outside of Power.
He's on cold tires, so he should be able to get him here. He's got to line it up and just use the straightaway here.
Remember, Rossi's on a 4-stop strategy. He cannot afford to lose time. He has to click off quick laps. He needs to make this position if that strategy is going to work.
Push to pass for both cars. He'll have hot tires and outbrake Will Power easily.
I don't know. Power looks like he might go for it, Paul.
He's going to get pushed off here if there's not contact first. He pushes him right off the edge of the road. You see the tires getting laid down rubber on the exit. Rossi's got to make this happen too late. By the carousel or it's over. He's got one more chance down the hill here where he might be able to outbrake him. Right here, he's got to run.
Will Power
protects.
He's going to push him wide again. Watch Power drive Rossi right off onto the rumble strip. So hard to get the power down there. Rossi struggles. Power with the advantage. Beautiful job from Will Power to just drive at the limit of the rules.
Well, as you said, Joseph Newgarden was the one Penske car that was able to stretch his fuel over 4 miles longer than his teammates. This could certainly play. He slides a little bit past where they wanted him to stop, but they're still able to get the hose connected. You see them battling on the racetrack at the same time. Joseph Newgarden leaves at 8.1 seconds with fresh black stickers.
And Scott Dixon knows how hard it's going to be to take the fight to the Penskes on the track. This is where he's hoping to make up time. As you see the 19 putting on those sticker blacks, and he's down and away.
Here comes Elio Castroneves. Newgarden comes out ahead, but he's on cold tires. We're going to see the exact same kind of defensive driving.
Runs a little wide. He's got a nice run here. Castro Neves makes an easy pass there, so he ran a little wide on the exit. Wow. That's how close it was. If he'd have had a little bit less gap and not backed off to make that extra lap, that would have been easy to the lead.
But Newgarden had every opportunity to block his teammate, and he didn't. He could have driven up the right-hand side to turn 3. He left the door open. Little kumbaya over there.
Look at the guy. Look at the guy who's in 3rd now. That went a lap longer. Dixon has now moved into 3rd ahead of Power. So Power has given up the position to Rossi. I think they called him on blocking. So Rossi is now moved ahead of Will Power right here. So I think there was a penalty called on that.
Well, we'll have to find out from race control. We don't know if that's the case or not. I didn't see anything that suggested Power was blocking to the letter of the rule. So they're taking a look, they're reviewing it in race control. And again, Alexander Rossi knows that he's not in the same battle with Scott Dixon. He needs pace. He needs to get ahead and get back into clean air.
Yeah, the Power-Rossi altercation, if it is that, is under review at this point. And keep in mind, Rossi still has to stop 3 more times, while Power still only twice. So it's not quite a straight-up fight. Oh, it's getting good. Stay with us from Road America. Back at Road America with a lot going on, all behind Helio Castroneves, who has led from the jump, except for the pit sequence. Joseph Newgarden in 2nd. And we go back to Will Power running in 5th position. We saw him battling with Alexander Rossi earlier. No action taken on that at pit exit, but there has been action taken on this with his teammate, Simon Pagenaud.
As there should have been. I don't know that that warrants just giving up the position. That was a major swerve, Paul, in reaction to a car trying to pass from behind.
That was the Kanaan chop right there. That was not very cool at 180 miles an hour down the back straightaway. He was looking in the mirror, saw his teammate pull out, and just swerved over at him. So I think when Will Power gets out of the race after and takes a look at that, he'll say, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, here's the thing. Race control has the ability to enforce different levels of penalty for blocking. So if you only have to give the position back for that, well, then what's the downside? Go for it, and you only have to give up the spot if you're caught.
I'll tell you what.
But that was vicious. We said it before the start of the race that the action could be from the Penske drivers trying to assert themselves in the championship. We're only 17 laps in, and that is very much the case with Power and Pagenaud.
You wouldn't do that if you got a drive-through penalty and it ruined your race. So, like you said, there's only a penalty of losing 1 position. So
you're not even losing position. You just give up what you didn't have in the first place.
Or what you were going to soon lose. And he has given up the spot. So on board with Will Power, who runs in 6th. We see Simon Pagenaud, who has scooted away from him nicely in 5th. Alexander Rossi, different strategy, needs an extra pit stop from the other leaders, is for now making it work in 4th as we look at the Firestone telemetry for Will Power.
And I think what happened with Pagenaud there was that he did a great job to hide himself where Power couldn't see it in the mirror. He just kind of positioned himself off the right rear and then went left, and Power realized it too late.
I don't know about that. Will Power's got pretty big eyes. He sees a lot. So, you know, he started out this weekend dominant. He's been dominating the whole weekend. Got overhauled by his teammate for pole, and now it's kind of unraveling for him. He's down now to 6th place. So he's got a long way to go to come back. We see some guys setting up. Rossi setting up for that 4-stop strategy. He's currently running in P4, but he's going to lose all those positions that he's gained.
Meanwhile, up front, Joseph Newgarden, as we ride on board for Alexander Rossi, running in 4th, and see Pagenaud behind him. Newgarden has been chasing Castroneves from the start of the race, and he's cutting off about a 10th or 2 each time. And look at this. He is now right up on the rear wing of Helio Castroneves. This is a battle for the lead in Road America.
Well, we're going to see what happens here. If he gets by him, having to go a lap further, he's got the potential, Townsend, of going 2 laps further this next stint. Katie?
And Alexander Rossi pits from 4th. The guys upstairs told you he is on a completely different strategy from those other leaders. I told you earlier in this race as well that he charged from 18th to 5th. In Barber, as you watch that battle on the right between teammates, still for the lead. Alexander Rossi pulls into his pit stops, into his pit box. He's going to go to those Firestone Blacks and cycle back out, try to work his way back to the front. Kevin?
Go, clear out, clear out.
Rossi back out with stop number 2 of 4 for him. There we see Michaela Lotion coming into his pit box in the black and red car. And also J.R. Hildebrand is making a stop. Joseph Newgarden, though, is on the charge this time. They're both on equal tire strategies right now, both on the Firestone primaries, as is Scott Dixon running in third. It's Simon Pagenaud in this stint that has the Reds running fourth.
And I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens at the next round of stops. If we stay green between these two guys, Newgarden played the gentleman on the first round, left the open line for Castroneves, didn't block. I don't think we're going to see that later in this race if they continue to run nose to tail.
He's going to need a much bigger gap than 2 car lengths on him if he's going to keep him behind, because I think, and Jan, you can maybe get some numbers in the pits, I think that Dixon and Newgarden can probably go 2 laps now further than Castroneves.
Well, here's what I think, Paul, on Castroneves is that Newgarden did that 14 lap. Dixon's
on him.
14 laps.
He's got to run, and he blocks. He's going to come down the outside. He might have him here around the outside. Oh,
I don't think so.
Teammates side by side. Newgarden takes the lead in Road America on Castroneves.
By virtue of going 14 laps on the opening stint, Newgarden can burn more fuel on this stint. Castroneves has to now conserve to make it to the end. Newgarden with a brilliant pass around the outside.
He has been charging in this second stint. Castroneves led by 3 seconds going into the first round of pit stops, but now it's Joe New on the march.
But look who else is closing in, Marty. We see Graham Rahal come in, but Dixon is now closing the gap to the leaders.
That battle for the lead's a lot of fun, and when you go 1 lap longer, it usually gains you about 2 seconds. Left side of your screen, you see Graham Rahal leaving pit road with 4 fresh Firestone primary tires and Sunoco fuel. That's going to be the topic of the day. How much fuel do you have in the tank, and how long can you stretch that window? Battle for the lead's been fun, Kevin.
And we also, sorry, go ahead, Jan.
Well, we can get an update with Tim Cindric because he just got to watch what every team strategist loves to watch, your car moving to the lead. Was that virtue of the fact you went 1 lap longer?
Yeah, I think it was part of that, and obviously, you know, Elio's trying to save to get to the next stop. So obviously they're racing each other clean, which is the first step. But you know, Dixon was gaining on us there quite a bit, so we could either wait for him or we knew that we could go harder and use more fuel than what Elio could.
Now that you have position, do you turn him down so you can keep that 1 lap longer?
Yeah, you just try and stay smart because that's all going to play out in the last stop. So you want to make sure you're not a lap shorter than the guys are racing in the last stop. So we'll see what happens here.
All right, still a chess game going on with Team Penske.
And what I was going to mention is we saw Rahal pit there, so a second race within the race on the 4-stop strategies. Rossi went by as Rahal was exiting, so Rossi is still ahead of Rahal if somehow that strategy works, and it's only going to work if a yellow comes out.
Dixon is now closing in quickly on Castroneves. Now that Castroneves doesn't have that clean air on the front of his car, he's losing touch to Newgarden, and Dixon is closing that gap on him. Katie?
And Tony Kanaan is also coming into the pits as we see him pull into his box there. He's coming over the radio complaining about his car not handling great in traffic, which of course is a problem because he's trying to work his way up through the field, so the team is going to put on those Firestone red tires and add a turn, a front wing. Also fill him up with Sunoco fuel. Kevin?
Kanaan back out, stop number 2. Conor Daly also pitting. We see him exiting with the green helmet back there for AJ Foyt Racing. Saw Rossi go by. So Kanaan, did he get out in front of Rahal? Yes. You see Rahal eventually coming as we go back to the front, and Joseph Newgarden in that orange and white number 2 Team Penske car has taken over, and Elio Castroneves now from being the chasee is the chaser.
Kevin just checked in with Jonathan Duguid and making the calls this weekend for Elio Castroneves. And Elio's a little frustrated on the radio, as you can imagine, because he did have to kind of give up the lead there because he's trying to make a fuel number. He also knows Scott Dixon is catching him, as you guys were mentioning in the booth. So this is a frustrating position, isn't it, Townsend, as a driver, because you're really racing to a fuel number. You're not really worried about where you are on the track, although you are certainly worried about the position you're in, but you're really worried about that fuel number because that's what you have to hit. It's almost more important than track position.
You're right, Marty, but that's the bed that you make. When you run that shorter stint, Castroneves rocketed it out to a lead at the start of this race, burned more fuel, had to stop a lap earlier, and that's going to be a penalty throughout the rest of this race. For Joseph Newgarden, if he can do 14 laps again, what you're doing is you're banking fuel that you can burn and turn up the wick full tilt at the end of this race.
Isn't that what I said I thought was going to happen, that Castroneves couldn't make the mileage, Katie?
Yeah.
What's your guy Dixon's guy down there, got to say.
And that would be Mike Hull as we see Scott Dixon catching up to Helio Castroneves. Mike, as a strategist, how do you help your driver get past those Penske's?
Well, that's been what Ganassi and Penske have done with each other for a long time, so we work pretty hard at it. It's a fair fight always. You know, Dixon's doing what he does well today. The guys did a great job on the first stop. With 55 laps, you have to really work from the back end of the race to the front end, but we beat a couple of people on the first stop. You know, maybe we can do that again a time or two, and we'll see what happens.
This is your 14th season with Scott. How does that consistent voice on the radio both ways pay off on track?
Well, we certainly understand each other. It's I don't know if it's like a marriage, but it's great to be together. He's a terrific race driver, and you know, if he has a good day, he's got a smile on his face. If he has a bad day, he just dusts it off. That's what we do here. Just been a fantastic relationship with him.
Kevin, they've had a lot of success together too, 39 wins.
Right now, Scott Dixon is in the middle of the Penske's. The 4 Penske's are all in the top 5. Scott Dixon there in the blue car in 3rd. Also, his teammate Charlie Kimball has worked his way up to 6th, and Spencer Pigot is 7th. Beautiful scenery here in the village of Watkins Glen. So many things to do. That's us, actually out on the lake on Friday evening. And great racing in Road America in IndyCar. The battle rages on between Team Penske and Scott Dixon in the middle of it at Road America. Joseph Newgarden is leading as we get closer to the halfway mark. Now 3 seconds in front of Helio Castroneves. There you see Helio, there's Scott Dixon, and Simon Pagenaud has now made up some ground after Dixon made a run at Castroneves not long ago. Will Power back in 5th, and then we see one of the biggest movers of the race, Charlie Kimball, running in the 6th position. He started in 10th, and Spencer Pigot has gone from 14th to 7th. Pigot maybe fairly soon, and he's one of those kind of on the borderline of whether it's 3 or 4 stops, and there Pigot is going to come in right now, making his 2nd stop of the day, and he's the subject of our Chevy driver profile. The 23-year-old from Orlando had a good race here last year, finishing in the top 10, also 7th at Mid-Ohio last year, so he's good on these kind of courses, Marty.
And having a nice run today, Kevin, as you mentioned, gaining all those spots. One of these guys pitting a little bit earlier off sequence with the leaders, if you will. The primary tire is going to go on here for Spencer Pigot, having a nice run, hearing Ed Carpenter on the radio as well. So a little bit off strategy from everybody else, but solid and gaining spots all afternoon long.
Need a good outlap here, good outlap.
What he's hoping for here is he needs some yellow. If he gets some yellow, he could get possibly back on that 3-stop strategy.
Well, the guy he's racing with, Paul. Alexander Rossi comes racing by. Here comes Tony Kanaan. So Pigot commits to the 4-stop strategy, and he'll be in a battle with these guys.
We might get a yellow at some point. These guys at the front are racing each other really hard. I hope we get a replay soon of the Scott Dixon and Castroneves. Scott Dixon got a run on him, and Castroneves defended very, very aggressively. So these guys, some of these guys get together. We got a tight race here from 2nd to 4th.
And here comes Simon Pagenaud looking strong.
Here it is, what I asked for it, so look at this. Dixon's got a nice run, he's timing it, he fades outside, then he goes inside, and Castroneves moves over in reaction to him. So we'll wait and see whether the guys make a decision in the Chief Steward's office, but what do you think, Townsend?
I venture to say I agree with you. I hesitate to do it, but that's a little bit of a dirty move. Right in the brake zone when Dixon counts on you staying in position and he still goes to pop. If Castroneves swerves like that, if I'm in race control, I'm gonna put the same penalty that Power got earlier and make him give up at least the position. On board with Tony Kanaan now as he looks to make a move on Pigot.
We haven't heard anything yet from race control, so it's been all quiet. So they've certainly doled out a lot of penalties on the number 12 today, and it'll be interesting to see if they give the fan favorite the same kind of treatment.
Maybe when you're over 40, you get a pass on the first one.
Well, I never got any, that's for sure.
There's another over 40 who can still get it done. That's
nice
Tony Kanaan.
Check this out. Spencer Pigot only has 19 seconds of push to pass left in this whole race. Tony Kanaan 58 seconds, so these guys have used up the button as Kanaan goes rocketing by on the outside. Spencer Pigot now down to 11 seconds. We're not even at, well, we're just at half distance, and that's almost all of the push to pass used up.
And even more frustrating when you use it up and can't even defend the position. Kanaan gets that spot into 14th. Both of those right now are on 4-stop strategies.
And guys, you'll notice on the right side of the front wing for Spencer Pigot, he's missing that upright, if you will. That was that contact that happened early on in the race, so he's doing all this without the added benefit of that, but the team has decided not to replace that front wing. Meanwhile, Takuma Sato also having a nice day. Remember, he has a pinched nerve. He's in the 12th position right now. He had that happen in practice yesterday. He told me honestly, I don't know when it happened, but it happened, and the right-handers are really giving him a tough time out there, guys. But remember, he's third in the championship standings. Wanted to tough it out. He didn't do morning warm-up today, but wanted to race this afternoon. Would not miss that, he told me. So out there, gutting it out with a pinched nerve in his neck.
Pastor Neves is pulled away from Dixon. He's put some time on him now, so still no word from race control on whether they're looking at that. As these three guys, this is the biggest battle right here for the podium.
Simon Pagenaud has roughly 60 seconds, 50 seconds of additional push-to-pass time still in the bag. Scott Dixon, 87 seconds left to Paginaud's 132 remaining.
There's Esteban Gutierrez, another good mover in this race, from 18th to 11th in just his second IndyCar weekend. This week it was announced that he would finish the season in IndyCar for Sebastian Bourdais with an asterisk. Dale Coyne has said if Bourdais can return, we'll have a car for him. I talked with Sebastian, big plug here for my Indianapolis radio show, weekly on IndyCar this week, and he said, I'm hoping to come back by Watkins Glen. That was new news. We had earlier heard Sonoma was the best case situation, but he's not ruled out coming back at Watkins Glen, so in that case, would we see 3 cars for Dale Coyne Racing, who's had to spend a lot of money on crash damage this year?
I think for Gutierrez, who chases his Dale Coyne teammate Ed Jones right now as the teams get ready for the next round of stops. For Gutierrez, how physical is it to go, Paul, from a Formula One car to an Indy car at a track like Road America? If you're conditioned for F1, IndyCar demands a lot more strength.
Well, there's no power steering in the Indy cars. Obviously, the cornering speeds of a Formula One car and the braking capabilities. We see Helio come in. He's the first of all these guys to come in, so this will be interesting over the next lap to see where he cycles out. But the physical demands are very similar on the neck, but it takes a lot more shoulder and arm strength to wrestle these Indy cars. Marty?
Going to have 3 Penske cars coming in here. You're going to have Simon Pagenaud, Helio Castroneves, and Will Power all coming down pit road. For Pagenaud, it's going to be sticker primary tires. No changes to the chassis, really. Helio Castroneves goes to scuffed red tires, and Will Power to sticker primary tires. And a lot of guys going past Will Power here on pit road as they cycle out. We'll see where they cycle out when they get back on the track, guys.
So 14 laps on that stint for Castroneves, 14 laps for Pagenaud and Power, but once again, Newgarden able to go the lap longer by virtue of stretching that first stint. A lot of action on pit lane.
Well, and Kimball stayed out a lap longer, so he wasn't that far behind that group. So we'll see where Kimball cycles around, because he is on the same lap count as Dixon, his teammate.
And when we talk fuel saving, as we see Pigot trying to go to the inside of Hinchcliffe, and he's going to make that move. When we talk fuel saving, Scott Dixon has always been the master of that. Right now, he runs in second. He's getting at least an extra lap out of this, right behind Joseph Newgarden. Kimball now in third, so we'll see how this all shakes out in a lap or two after this round of stops. Chilton, Pigot, Hinchcliffe, those 3 right there, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And here coming up the hill is Joseph Newgarden. The leader is coming down pit road at 50 miles per hour.
And you heard that they turned him loose so he could get the lead of this race. Then they turned him back down, meaning that he did do, again, an extra lap. He is expected, and we see they have laid out brand new sticker black primary Firestones. We're not expecting any changes. He loves his car. And again, if he can maintain this kind of pace, we see Scott Dixon go around him on the outside while he finishes. We'll check in with Katie.
And Scott Dixon pits from the second position as you see him pull into his box there. The The team debated on the radio over what tires to choose. This time they're going to go with Scott Perez, as you also see Charlie Kimball pulling into his pit box, hitting for the 3rd position. Also very happy with his car. No changes for him either.
All right, let's watch the race into turn number 1. Newgarden has them covered easily, but Dixon is going to get a spot, and he's going to jump Castroneves and pull into 2nd position, but Elio is on warmer tires. Can he get to him?
Sato.
No, we're going to see a yellow. Sato is around.
Sato's lost it in the kink, which is the fastest corner of the track, so that is the worst place that you want to lose control of a car. And there's grass everywhere all over the track.
Huge break for the 4-stoppers.
And some of those that were on the break, too, maybe like a Spencer Pigot, if we get another yellow later, he's a little closer to maybe being able to get it done on 3.
And you talk about when a yellow comes out, you can never predict. For those who just stopped, like Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, they just caught a huge break. If this would have happened in between when the previous people stopped and then they stopped, they would have been caught. So when you're someone like Tim Cindric, like Mike Hull on the stand, you just make your pit stop and then the yellow comes out, you're like, whew, man, we dodged a bullet.
It's a great point, Jan, and that's the risk you take when trying to stretch the mileage, is exposing yourself on that one lap, let's say, where a yellow could pop out. This happened in the kink, Paul, which is kind of a weird area.
Oh, he got off
for
Sato.
Whoa!
Riding it rough, rodeo style. That car was 2 feet off the ground, and luckily he didn't really hit anything hard at all.
Imagine if that nose cone dug in, he would have endoed like Oriol Servia way back when at Laguna Seca. That was a vicious off and a very rough grass section that he just bounded through. That looked like the Huckabuck, the motocross move.
And remember, he is dealing with a very sore neck. It was in question whether he would be able to race today, skip the morning warm-up, and that is not going to help. So full course caution. It's Newgarden, Dixon, Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Rossi. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by KOHLER, living on the leading edge of design and technology since 1873. And by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series. That's one of the legendary establishments in the village of Elkhart Lake. Siebkens. Make my first visit on Friday evening.
Paul, you and I have had several blurry nights there. Siebkens.
Yep. Yeah,
I was disappointed our host David Hobbs was out of town. He was working on that wild Formula One race this morning. So under our first caution, a full course caution for the Takuma Sato incident. This is just moments ago. Those on the 4-stop strategy, like Alexander Rossi, Tony Kanaan, Mikhail Aloshin, all making their stop. There's Sato making his way into pit lane back there as well. It looked like he was going to climb out. He actually got back in, and he's going to continue. Graham Rahal there, and the Gale car, one of those. Conor Daly coming back out, and then Marco Andretti, who earlier, by the way, had to serve a penalty for a pit speed violation. Apparently their pit speed limiter is not working, and also we've had some reports that they've not been able to get full throttle.
When you look at drivers who pitted on lap 29, there's also a name you want to look at who was close to a 4-stop or 3-stop strategy, Carlos Munoz. He decided not to hit pit road, so therefore Munoz is in a position now to kind of save some fuel and see if possibly he can gain some after a weekend when he was the next fastest Chevy next to the Penske's, but way back in 13th.
Oh, Hunter Ray nearly got into the back of Hinchcliffe.
Here they go.
Restart coming up, back up the hill, through the gears. It's Penske Ganassi, Penske Ganassi at the front, and a good run for Scott Dixon. The blue car pops to the outside, trying to go around the outside of Joseph Newgarden, side by side, coming into turn number 1. Newgarden won't give it up, but Dixon is going to grab the spot and takes the lead.
I told you in the break, you give Dixon a sniff at the lead, and he's going to go for it like an assassin, and now he has taken the lead away from the Penske. Oh, we got damage with Hinchcliffe.
And Power got into him. Was that Power that hit him?
I'm not sure who that was on the outside, but Hinchcliffe's steering rack is broken. We'll see if he can get back to pit lane. Back up front, Newgarden under pressure from Castroneves. Castroneves goes around the outside.
Now all of a sudden, Newgarden's dominance, he's gone from first to third in the span of 3 corners. And look at Dixon, he has taken off.
Newgarden is on the harder black compound tire, and I think the advantage went to Dixon. and to Castroneves, who are both on reds. Softer compound, much easier to deal with on the restart when the tire temps are not quite up
Look at
yet.
these Ganassi cars. We got Kimball and Chilton now up there fighting with the Penskes. So it's Ganassi on Penske. This whole weekend has changed the whole tune. It was all about Penske, and now Ganassi is coming to the front in the race.
You see that little wiggle there with the bright yellow car for Simon Pagenaud, and Charlie Kimball might eventually get a run.
Pagenaud also on black, so Pagenaud has decided he had the option to finish out on reds, but Simon Pagenaud decided to go with the harder tire, and he's struggling to hang on to it.
Now let's go back to this. It was willpower. James Hinchcliffe, this incident is under review.
Hinchcliffe up the inside, has the apex, but he gets a little too much of the apex curb and runs wide. No action taken. Great call from race control. Let's ride on board again with Hinch. Hinch up the inside. Gets a little bit of a bounce off that apex curb. That was a lot like Valtteri Bottas this morning with Raikkonen on the first lap in Azerbaijan.
So the yellow has changed things up. There was a lot of fuel saving. How much harder can they go now? Well, look at this back here. That's Aloshin and Hildebrand trying to go at it, and that's Gutierrez right behind them, along with another ABC supply car. That's Conor Daly working on the inside of Gutierrez.
Conor Daly has the position. Gutierrez gives him room. Now they're going to do the big drag race down to turn 5.
Battling all the way through the field. This is the end of the field, 17th, 18th, 19th. So there's action all over the racetrack. Gutierrez's wing is flapping. He's got damage on the front. He locks up a little bit, pushes Conor Daly wide, and look at Marco Andretti slices by.
These drivers all know that if you try going on the outside in turn 5 or over in Canada corner, if the inside driver knows I can push him wide onto the rumble strips, it's impossible to get the power down. It's simply too bumpy for the rear tires to roll the power down smoothly.
Gutierrez's front wing end plate, he's lost the outside section of the end plate. You see here, it's be flapping around right here. So not good for the front downforce on his car. He's going to struggle.
Meanwhile, Hinchcliffe is on pit lane after that contact with power. He's going to need a new nose cone.
And a steering arm.
He's going to need a steering arm, and they take quite a bit of time to change, so he will probably lose a couple laps and be completely out of contention now.
And in a race like this, unlike Texas, there's not likely to be a lot of attrition, so that's a lot of work maybe to get a position.
Yeah, the only thing that helps you at Road America is the long lap. If it was just a front wing for Hinchcliffe, they could get onto the tail end of the lead lap. But unfortunately, with a steering arm, it's too much.
And we see Scott Dixon pulling away in the lead right now. I talked to him just before this race, and I said, hey, Scott, can you believe in a career of 40 wins you have never led here at Road America? Well, he said, I'm determined to change that today, and he just did. Jan?
And we talk about Joseph Newgarden. You can see he's barely in the picture here after lost all that position because of those black sidewall Firestones. Now remember, they made the decision to put the blacks on this car when he had a nice pad in the lead. He was not expecting, nor was anyone else, to have a caution period. So when you're a pit strategist, you say, hey, we got a nice lead. Let's take this stint when we know we have a lead and see if we can keep it with the Firestone primaries. But then you have a caution, and you're a sitting duck.
Great point. Those that were on the reds had a huge advantage on the restart.
My question is, has Dixon run the blacks yet? I don't think so. So Dixon will have to run the blacks towards the end of race. We can find out on pit lane. But Dixon, if he has to go to blacks, he knows now I've got to stretch as big a lead as possible if I've got to run the harder tire to the end.
And look at the lead he's building right now. It's up to almost 3 seconds. So he's got a nice lead on Castroneves. He chased him down and easily got by him on the pit stops.
We just looked up with Russ, our statistician. So Dixon did run the blacks on the second stint. So he's got those out of the way. He can finish on reds if he wants.
We got a long way to go, but one of the things that I've been talking about for a while, we've discussed, is that you knew it was going to come at some point for Scott Dixon. He was the championship leader, hadn't won a race, could have, should have won 2, maybe 3 others. Now again, there's a lot of things and one more pit stop to go, but this is, how surprising is it, considering the way the Penskes had dominated the weekend coming into it, though?
Scott Dixon has to be the most surprised of all. I think if we would have asked him yesterday after qualifying, he would have shook his head and said, no chance, Penske's on another level. But overnight, that Ganassi team has figured out how to get the handling and the balance out of their Honda.
I think I heard Robin Miller on Racer.com predict Scott Dixon would win the race. If so, he will get major kudos, but a lot can still happen here at Road America.
Welcome back to picturesque Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for live coverage of the KOHLER Grand Prix with the Verizon IndyCar Series. Scott Dixon currently leading the field. So let's go through the field. Like I said, Scott Dixon leading the field right now. His strategist Mike Hull just came over the radio, and they were debating on whether or not to stop one lap earlier than planned, just to make sure that they got a jump on the rest of the field. He's going to go for sticker reds for that last stint. Marty?
Katie, has been 3 years and 53 races since Helio Castroneves has won in the IndyCar Series. Trust me, he wants to win today. And his sponsor is from Milwaukee, right here, Rev. They are from Milwaukee. They have 100 people here this afternoon. About 7 laps. Helio will be pitting. He has a set of sticker reds to go for that final stint.
And that's a similar case for Joseph Newgarden. He also has a set of sticker reds, and I just did confirm with the team. Tim Cindric saying, yes, we did not expect to have a caution. That's why we decided to go blacks on this stint. Marty?
Simon Pagenaud staring at his best ever Road America finish. He's only finished 11th here as the best finish. He has sticker reds for that final set too. He told me this place is all about bravery. Right now that bravery is taking him to a 4th place run at the moment, Katie.
And Charlie Kimball has worked his way up to 5th from a 10th place starting position. When I talked to him earlier in the weekend, he was fairly frustrated with the car because they're used to the Chevy aero kit here and they weren't able to test. Meanwhile, his teammate Max Chilton is behind him in 6th. Like I said earlier, Max loves this place. He loves the flowing corners and the picturesque lake. Marty?
Kind of a rough race for Will Power. He's been reviewed several times for possible blocking out on the racetrack. Right now, he's in the 7th position. He asked John Boslog, his strategist, a moment ago, can you release me earlier in this run so I can run harder? He said, I would love to, bud. Right now, we have to worry about that fuel. Jan?
Now, Carlos Munoz is in a great position in 8th, but watch this. He's going to peel off onto pit road. Decided that they could not make it as far as they needed to. It's going to be big-time fuel save, Marty.
Back on the racetrack, Ryan Hunter-Reay is in 9th position right now. Nice rally for this race team. They've struggled a lot of this weekend, but we're pretty quick in morning warm-up. In fact, the fastest. He has a big problem, though. No dash in that car, so the team has to tell him his fuel mileage. He has no idea what kind of fuel mileage he's making, Jan.
Ed Jones started the weekend very strongly. He liked his Dale Coyne entry, but has not been able to make the kind of pace that he's needed in the race so far. You can see he's getting a lot of pressure from behind, learns a lot, loves this kind of racetrack, Katie.
And Tony Kanaan in 10th has not been happy all weekend. He's running way more downforce than his teammates so that he can be able to work his way up through the field. Meanwhile, Alexander Rossi behind him, he's in 11th, and they have been having one heck of a battle for that 10th position. Alexander Rossi trying to make that move on Tony Kanaan.
Graham Rahal is back in the 12th position, and right now he has the boss here. Not his dad, Bobby, but he has David Letterman here this afternoon watching on. He's in the hospitality area right now, checking out what's going on with the race car. Graham just says it burns the rears off the car too quickly. That's his biggest problem. At the end of the run, they're way too free, Jan.
And right behind, you can see how close J.R. Hildebrand is in 13th position at the moment. Remember, this team had Joseph Newgarden last year, and the setup that Joseph Newgarden likes, you have to drive the car very gently, in the words of J.R. Hildebrand. He said, that's something I'm not used to, having to get used to just making all the inputs very smooth. Katie?
And Jan-Michael Lotion in 14th has been screaming over the radio all race long. Remember, he had trouble getting back from France after Le Mans. He had just 16 laps of practice before this race. They just can't seem to hit the nail on the head. Jan?
Conor Daly, of course, we talked about Munoz, but for Conor Daly, he has loved his car in the corners. And there he is. He says that this part of the racetrack, my car is solid. I love the balance, but on these straightaways, I just don't have the go, and we don't know why.
Great work to get us update on just about most of the field and how their day is going. KOHLER took us through the field. Scott Dixon looking to expand his championship lead and get his first win of the season. Plenty more to come. The Verizon IndyCar Series continues on NBCSN in 2 weeks. Join us Sunday, July 9th at 5 o'clock Eastern for the Iowa Corn 300. Always presents great racing. What a beatdown last year, presented by Joseph Newgarden. And make sure you tune in early for the Indy Lights race at 4 o'clock, 2 weeks, Sunday, July 9th. Also, today's Indy Lights race, the second half of the doubleheader from Road America, will air tomorrow at noon here on NBCSN. Well, it was Helio Castroneves early. Second stint was Joseph Newgarden. And then Scott Dixon moved to the front on a restart after our only caution of the race. It was for one lap. Meanwhile, Will Power running in 7th position. This is a battle for 6 moments ago on Max Chilton.
Didn't make it easy. Gave him a little bit of the Pruitt fade, but left the door open at the end of the brake zone, and he Power slid through, so he's picked up another position. He's going to try and go a lap further than the rest of these guys, and then go full rich at the end and try to make back some positions, but he's got a long way to go to catch Scott Dixon.
Well, the question I have is, what does Dixon's team do on strategy as they get to the last stop? When do they take it?
Well, let's get the word straight from Michael. Mike, do you pit early when the window opens, or do you wait?
We pit when we have to come in for fuel.
And when is that?
We think on lap 42 for us. That should be good, and then hopefully we'd have a good run to the end.
All right, Townsend, does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. The only thing that leaves them vulnerable is if a yellow comes out, you know, around lap 41 or something, and some of the other guys were to pit early. So does anybody take a chance and try to stretch it for that lucky yellow? I think the probability is very low of a yellow today at Road America in this phase, but it's bitten them before. Scott Dixon ran last pitted on lap 28, so did Newgarden. Castroneves and Pagano on 27, so those guys might pit earlier.
I tell you what, he's hustling right now. He's built up a bigger gap. He's pulled it from 3 seconds to 4 seconds in the last 3 laps. So he's putting the hammer down now, building that gap. We know he can go longer than Castroneves, so he definitely wants to have it in hand.
Townsend, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of whether I'm in the championship fight or not. 5 of the top 6, all in the championship. If I'm Charlie Kimball or Max Chilton, I'm a little more willing to take a risk and coming in a lap early trying to steal a win.
Well, let's get back to that, but let's go to this under review with the 19 of Ed Jones and Tony Kanaan. There was contact nose to tail, and I'd have to see that maybe from another angle, Paul, to determine whether or not that was in reaction to or in anticipation, you know, proactive or reactive.
Well, a lot of guys are angry at Tony Kanaan right now, so he's got a little dose of his own medicine right there, but Ed Jones protected. He moved a little bit. We'd have to see a front-on view of that, but he definitely protected the inside line.
Jones in 9th, Kanaan in 10th.
Kevin, going back to your point, I agree with you. Charlie Kimball, pit now. Take a chance. And if you get lucky on a yellow, you're sitting pretty. So somebody should gamble in the next lap on pit lane and be the first to make their last stop. No action taken, we hear from race control. And you know what, as a racer, I'd like the racing to be done on the track. I like it if there's a 50-50 call. I love it when they back out and let the guys battle it out on the track.
Yeah, encourage people to try to make moves. On board with Will Power right now, running in 6th, and he's lost a little ground to Charlie Kimball up ahead there.
Guy who's closed the gap on these guys is Ryan Hunter-Reay. We haven't talked much about him. He almost got into the back of Hinchcliffe on the restart, but he's closed the gap right here, and he's been pushing forward through this whole race.
So nobody comes to pit lane yet. Oh, there he is. Castroneves, first one.
And he's a lap early, so Marty.
And guys, this is a big mistake. They actually told Helio Castroneves to keep going, and he came on pit road, and Jonathan Duguid came on the radio, said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I told you to go one more lap." So this was a mistake by Helio coming to pit road a little bit earlier here. It's going to be sticker red tires on pit road. Remember, Roger Penske not here this afternoon. Jonathan Duguid calling his first ever race, 9.2 on the stop. We'll see if this really hurts them, guys.
Now, if a yellow hits right now on this lap, Castroneves is sitting pretty.
And it might happen right here. These two race each other really hard. They got the squeeze going on there, but there's plenty of racing going on, so it can happen. There's plenty of racing and hard racing going on, so we'll see if anybody gets into each other. That could play out for Castroneves since he's made the first stop. If it doesn't, it's going to probably cost him a position or two.
Well, if a yellow did come, that would totally ruin Scott Dixon's race. So this is where you're really exposed, just on this one lap. If we get through this lap without a yellow, then everything's going to be all right. Dixon should be hitting pit lane next time by.
Hunter-Reay has moved from 12th to 6th after getting that spot on Max Chilton. So Castroneves was running in 2nd, now is going to need a huge break. In the 53 races since Helio last won, he has a dozen podiums. 2nd 8 times, 3rd 4 times. He's going to have to do some massive fuel saving, though, unless there is a caution to get to the end.
We'll see who peels off here as we get into the last corner. Dixon is in the pits, so I would expect everybody else to follow him in now.
Newgarden's in, Will Power's in.
You heard that Joseph Newgarden is also going to be making his way. We see Scott Dixon, who's pitted at pit out, but towards pit in is Joseph Newgarden. They're going to go for those sticker red sidewalls that we talked about. Everything's clear so far. Let's get to Marty for Scott Dixon.
And Simon Pagenaud putting on sticker red tires as well. No changes to the wing on the one car. Will Power coming to pit road. He too saved a stick of sticker red tires here for the very end of this race. Those going on. We'll see where these guys cycle out. Scott Dixon getting to install now.
Watch on the right-hand side. Here comes Helio Castroneves on hot red tires. His teammates come out of the pits. There's Newgarden. He goes by Pagenaud. Castroneves and Newgarden are going to be racing going to turn 5.
There's going to be some hard racing here down to turn 5. He's got to set it up here, back off, and get a run off of this corner and use his push to pass. And we're going to have a fight all the way down this straightaway. He's in the tow, Townsend.
Newgarden's defending. Newgarden all over the road trying to break the draft. He's not going to be nice this time.
Earlier on, they battled in this same circumstance, and Newgarden let him go by. Is he going to be able to hold him off this time into turn 5? Newgarden will slam the door shut and maintain the position.
That was some good driving by Newgarden. He protected the inside. He got his tires up to temp, and he's held the position. Tough to pull off on a guy who's on fresh tires and hot tires, and there's lots of push to pass left for Newgarden.
And Newgarden has been very efficient, Paul, as you just said. About 80 seconds left. Castroneves 20. This could be more drama down here. Rahal and Aloshin.
Oh, they're way off the track, in the gravel.
And if he's off the track, what happened to Rahal? Rahal continues. There goes Aloshin to get back on. He'll have stuff all over his tires.
And on the racetrack potentially there.
Rahal here fades the inside, leaves it open. He'll just do the over-under. Aloshin gets in way too hot, misses the apex.
So the leader right now, Kimball, followed by Rossi, but they will have to come to pit lane.
And Charlie Kimball pitting for the last time in this race as he pits from the lead. As you see him there on those Firestone red tires. He actually doesn't have those Firestone red tires. Oh, yes, he does. They came up with another set of those Firestone red tires for this final stint. Alexander Rossi also making his final stop of the day. Kevin?
So there's Castroneves. Pagenaud right behind him, so we watch where Kimball cycles out. He's not going to be able to get in front of Will Power. So really no gain for Kimball through this sequence. It's Dixon, 2.5+ seconds in front of Newgarden, then Castroneves, Pagenaud, Power, Kimball, Rossi, Munoz, Hunter-Reay, and Chilton. So the leaders have made their final stop. Will there be fuel saving? Who is going to have enough to be able to make the sprint to the finish? Stay with us from Road America. And there's a car off track, and Tony Kanaan is into the wall hard. Caution at Road America with 10 to go.
And
Scott Dixon's lead has gone away.
That's at the kink on the back straightaway, the fastest corner, the same spot where Sato was off, and we see this car
and the marbles
is demolished. So
marbles, Paul, have been accumulating in massive fashion, and Tony Kanaan is in pain.
You see all the marbles here. We were talking about it earlier. If we get that shot to come back a little bit, we were talking about it on break that we speculated that maybe Sato got in the marbles, because this corner is really easy flat in these cars. It's not even really a corner anymore, but as we look here, all these marbles here, if you drop a wheel off into this section, you're just going to slide right off the end of the track into the wall over here.
And remember, Kanaan was in that group with Rahal and Hildebrand and Rossi, and if you try going side by side, if somebody has a run and you're too wide and you get into the kink side by side, there's no chance for two cars to go through there.
Taking Tony a long time to get out of the car, so we hope he's not hurt. Normally he's a guy that pops out right away, so this is a big hit. This is a 175-mile-an-hour corner.
Looks like he's struggling to maybe get the sub belt off or the seat belt to release.
So side by side, here we go. Look, he comes out, he's got a run on Rossi.
Oh boy.
Oh, he breaks his front wing off, then he's got no downforce.
Well, not only does he have no downforce, but he's in the marbles. I don't know if he could have made it, Paul, without contact, as dirty as the racetrack is. Let's watch from on board. Rossi get wide.
Well, you're certainly not going to make it without front wing. That corner is so downforce sensitive, so you knock some of that downforce off and you're just going to go straight.
It sure looked like to me Rossi moved over on Kanaan, possibly payback for what happened earlier in the race where Rossi thought Kanaan drove him wide.
They
Well,
have
that's
been
a
going at it all day.
dangerous place to play that game of
Chicken.
dog, chicken.
Side by side, who's going to lift?
Mano we mano.
How fast is he going there? You know, this is a road course, and
Oh,
there are no
they're
safer
going
barriers.
170 right there.
Exactly. You're talking oval speeds.
And there's Armco. That is old school 1960s Armco at the exit there. And Kanaan's taking a break. He's going to sit down and think about this because that was a big hit.
Back from Le Mans, he had a good finish in Le Mans for his first time there as a rookie. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of traveling. Comes back here, and it's been a tough weekend that ends with a huge crash.
275th straight IndyCar race. Easily the most consecutive, going all the way back to 2001. He missed the Detroit race that year with a concussion. Well, let's go back to last week. These two spending some time together there as well.
Alexander Rossi low, Dixon inside, Kanaan high, Ganassi sandwich. Rossi came out the worst in that situation. And then earlier today, Tony Kanaan braking for turn 5, and he does a little bit of the old fade here, Paul, to the outside to take away the braking zone from Rossi. Rossi wasn't too pleased about it. I think Kanaan left him enough room there. That was fair play, but Rossi was upset, talked about it with Rob Edwards, his crew chief, his team manager on the radio, and then this happened. Rossi goes wide, Kanaan has a run through the carousel, a good run, and Rossi just moved over on him.
Clearly these guys have got 3 weeks worth of history as we hear the crunching huge bang. So that ends with a big crash for Tony Kanaan.
And that wasn't Armco, guys, that was concrete.
Exactly. Chip Ganassi watches on. One of his drivers into the concrete, the other is leading. Scott Dixon in the waning laps at Road America. Second caution of the day at Road America. This one more lengthy for a big hit for Tony Kanaan, who did climb out of the car. And we will have a restart coming up inside of 10 laps with lap cars, 3 of them moving out of the way. And Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Helio Castroneves, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, all still in the top 5, all still feel like they have a chance to win this race.
There's a car back here about 8th, 9th in line that's got a big pile of sod still stuck to the front wing. You see it right here. You do not want that coming off on the restart, coming up the front straightaway.
Ed Jones with about 11 pounds of, that might even be carpet. You know, there are some AstroTurf sections.
Oh, it's a wing plate. Yeah, it's a wing end plate. So it's part of Kanaan's, one of his wings.
Look at this, push to pass remaining. This is critical, folks.
Go over the curb a little bit on a couple of corners and see if that'll come off.
Just trying to coach Ed Jones to get that piece of debris off, but look at the push to pass. Castroneves is going to be a sitting duck on this final stint. The strongest driver in the field there, Newgarden, with 79 seconds remaining.
We've talked a lot about Honda versus Chevy. Here's the Chevrolet driver update with Joseph Newgarden, Helio Castroneves, Simon Pagenaud, and Will Power. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the Team Penske drivers. Then you go back to one of AJ Foyt's, Ed Carpenter's, and then Conor Daly and Spencer Pigot. So that's the Chevrolet driver update. It's a Honda out front right now. Scott Dixon will lead them to the restart.
Well, here's what I want to see. Joseph Newgarden had blacks on that last restart. Now he's on reds, Dixon's on reds. Let's watch what happened here.
Oh, he knew right away it was over. He took his hands off the steering wheel while he was still on the grass. So you hit the wall with your hands on the steering wheel, it's more than likely you're going to break your wrist or break your finger. So smart thinking by Tony Kanaan not to get an injury.
Paul, what do you think? Does Joseph Newgarden have enough on this restart to get by Dixon?
I think any of these guys do. I think Pagenaud's got enough. I think Newgarden's got enough. I think it's going to be a battle royale down to turn 5.
I think you look back to 5th place and Will Power, who was a little frustrated throughout this race. He now has the leader in his sights, a restart, 64 seconds of push to pass. We could be seeing a crazy drive from Will Power on these last 8 laps.
Cold tires now too. These guys, these tires cool off fast. It's a cold day out today in terms of being in the middle of the summer. So you got to get these tires warm. You see Dixon warming them up, running right up on the back of the pace car. So you got to get the temperature in to get a good restart.
Remember, Scott Dixon has not won this year. He's had 3 opportunities that he thought were his. He still leads the championship, though. He can score mega points here today as they run. He's 32 points up on Simon Pagenaud.
And don't rule out two Andretti's that are in 7th and 8th with Hunter-Reay and Rossi that have hung on. They've survived that 4-stop strategy for Rossi. They bailed out on that. He's now still in one piece with not a lot of push to pass. In fact, 0 time left for Alexander Rossi, but Hunter-Reay with 42 seconds. So it's Penske, Ganassi, Andretti all in the top 8.
Pace car lights are out. I'm surprised Dixon hasn't let that pace car get further away. It'll peel off before the second to last corner. We see some guys locking up tires here, trying to get the temp in.
Sarah Fisher in the pace car. Watch for her to pull off. Restarting with 7 to go coming up and no fuel savings. They can all go hard to the finish. Through 13 and 14. Back up to speed as they go back up the hill. Restarting at Road America. Scott Dixon trying to win for the first time, but he's got Newgarden, Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Power all lurking. Pagenaud in the yellow car darting back there. Kimball trying to make a move. Pagenaud to the inside of Castroneves, but nobody can challenge Scott Dixon through turn 1.
I think we'll see a lot of action, Paul, as they get out of 3 and go down to turn 5, riding on with Will Power right now.
I wonder if Pagenaud's running more downforce because he popped out twice on Castroneves. Wasn't able to pull by, so I wonder if Castroneves has a little bit less downforce and he's just a little bit more slick down the straightaway over Pagenaud.
Remember, no push to pass on the restart, so they've got to earn it here on the power that they have normally. And there's some debris there that everybody's swerving around. Some piece of bodywork, perhaps. And look at this, the point cars. Uh-oh, this is going to be tight. Conor Daly on the outside. Munoz pushes him wide.
Further back, we saw, I think that's one of the coin cars that got pushed a little bit wide. Meanwhile, up front, Scott Dixon is pulling away. The battle for third. Pagenaud working on his teammate, Elio Castroneves. It's still Penske 2, 3, 4, 5.
Dixon is just mastered it today. He's already pulled out almost a 2-second lead in 7 corners, so he has got this race under control today.
Talking about the push to pass not available on restarts. It will be reactivated at the alternate timeline, which Scott Dixon is approaching at the exit of 13. That then trips the timing transponder. Then you have push to pass at your disposal.
Rossi with bodywork in the way. Rossi comes bounding back on the track. He'll lose 3 or 4 positions.
He's got a broken front wing. You see that front wing right here is broken, so he's going to need to pit and change that. He's had a lot of action today.
I don't think there's any chance he's going to pit. I'm not sure I see where it's broken there, Paul, on the right front. There was some debris, but I would say Rossi's going to stay out. You pit now, you're done.
Lotion taking a look at Max Chilton. The run down to turn 1 down this straightaway. He's not up far enough.
And for Joseph Newgarden, who sits 1.3 seconds back of Scott Dixon, he'll probably be hoping for a yellow to have his shot to maybe make another attempt on a restart. Now Newgarden's on the button trying to close that gap.
Going to be tough to close that gap on the ice, man. When you put a win and put it out in front of him, he's a tough guy to beat. So he has surprised everybody. He even said himself, I'm just running for first in class yesterday after qualifying, and today he has put on a clinic.
Further back in the pack, Esteban Gutierrez has come down pit road. We've wondered if maybe someone lost part of a wing for debris. Don't know if that's the case, but he did make a stop here just a moment ago. And there's the championship. Scott Dixon came in as the championship leader, plus 13, and an opportunity to stretch that out. Pagenaud, Castroneves, Sato has had difficulties. He's going to drop from 3rd to at least 4th.
I think Newgarden has found his groove now. He's figured out how to close the gap. The lap time's looking strong here. The gap is closing quickly between Dixon and Newgarden.
It really has. It's closed 1 second in the span of a few corners. So right now it's 8/10 of a second.
And Newgarden has 20 seconds more push to pass. That final lap, that 20 seconds is both of the long straightaways. So Newgarden really is going to have a shot here.
Remember how he chased down Elio Castroneves in that second stint. Can he catch up to the master? Only Michael, Mario Andretti, and AJ Foyt have won more IndyCar races than Scott Dixon. He's going for number 41 today. inside the final 5 laps in Road America. It's been good, and it is far from done. Nothing changed while we were away, but Joseph Newgarden is still lurking, pulling off quick laps, trying to cut into the gap, chasing the master, Scott Dixon, 7/10 in front right now. Newgarden second, and it's Castroneves, Pagenaud, and Power with push to pass still remaining.
The young American, the great American hope, Paul, he's drawing ever closer. It's hard to get tight here at Road America with turbulent air following a car, but Newgarden's figuring out how to just inch it closer, and at some point he's going to have to burn up that available horsepower on the button to try to get right up in the draft.
Well, he's on it right now. He's been chasing. He's closing the gap. Dixon really rocking it away on the green flag lap, but he has taken chase. He's got more push to pass to use, and Dixon is just playing the game like a chess game.
Yep, he's just forcing Newgarden to use up the push to pass and try to get them to draw equal. If they can draw equal, then I think the advantage goes to Dixon. Dixon's on the button now, using it out of the exits onto these long straightaways.
Turning it on and off. Dixon used it coming off the corner and then shut it off at the bridge. Both him and Newgarden did the same thing, so they're not using it for the full length of the straightaway. We've got some debris at the end in the middle of the straightaway. That's a dangerous spot right there to have a winglet. That looks like something off of Rossi's car.
That to me looks like you might want to throw a yellow, just because if you're racing and you pop out, you can hit that. It's a big piece. Now look at this on the restart. There was something large. Ooh. Very large sitting in there. That looks like carbon fiber.
That's Sato that ran over that right behind Spencer Pigot.
And any one of those little pieces of carbon fiber that was laying on the track, it was a yellow piece, and it was Ryan Hunter-Reay's got a broken front wing.
So that was the piece on the front straightaway, was Ryan Hunter-Reay's end fence. That's going to be very difficult to go fast through the carousel. You can see him really struggle there. Now he's under attack. No yellow. We're going to put a guy in a yellow suit on the track to go get that. How'd you like to be that guy with cars coming at 190 miles an hour?
That's Ryan Hunter-Reay leading that train in 7th position. And now Ed Jones is going to try to go around, and Jones is going to get the spot, and Graham Rahal also is going to try to squeeze through.
Graham Rahal did not expect Ryan Hunter-Reay to break that early. He wouldn't have known that Hunter-Reay had an issue with the wing. That was almost a big crash.
Right now, Hunter-Reay slides off the end of the track. He's a lame duck right now. No front downforce, and he loses some more parts off the car.
I think that was the front wing of Munoz who got in the back of Hunter-Reay, so now Munoz loses something. 2 laps to go.
And up front, last time by, Dixon set the fastest lap of the race, but then Joseph Newgarden answered with a still quicker lap. Is there time for Joseph Newgarden, the young American from Tennessee, to chase down now Indianapolis resident Scott Dixon?
Joseph Newgarden has been begged into using his push to pass, and tempted, I should say, into using his push to pass from Scott Dixon. Dixon had 20 seconds less than Newgarden 3 laps ago. Now Dixon only 6 seconds less, so Dixon has done a great job to force Newgarden to use up the push to pass and draw even on the remaining 2 laps. Dixon looks so strong through there, Paul.
His car has been really good, and he has driven a masterful race today. I think by far the best driver you see comes on push to pass. He's got enough now to get down the next couple of straightaways here and finish his final lap using push to pass to defend. Newgarden still, though, drawing closer. He's still there. You can't afford to make a mistake.
Scott Dixon's had so much bad luck the last 8 weeks. Fast at Indy with a huge crash, mugged at Indy, crashed in Texas, not his fault. So Scott Dixon needs that good luck to turn, and there's going to be 1 lap to go. And now they'll use up every bit of that horsepower left on the button. 14-17 on the seconds remaining. Newgarden now 15 seconds left.
Long way to go, though. We've got a long lap, so you cannot afford to make a mistake, drop a wheel in the grass, and Newgarden will pounce, and we know how aggressive he is when he wants to get by.
I think this is Newgarden's last chance right here. I don't see how he can make it work unless it happens here, and there he goes wide. That's a big gap to try to make up as they go to turn 5.
Half a lap to go. We showed you the story in our pre-race. You can still find it on social media of the young fan who was so frightened with the major shock in Indianapolis when Scott Dixon a letter. Lucy had a chance to meet her hero this week, and she is enjoying this one. Scott Dixon is less than a half a lap away from his first win of the season and an opportunity to take a little bit more control of the championship.
Newgarden trying everything. He is using every centimeter of this racetrack, left to right, sliding right out on the exit curve to the grass, but it's so hard, Paul, to stay close to the carousel. This is a 130-mile-an-hour corner, and you need all the downforce, and when you have dirty air, you just can't draw close.
Push to pass again for Scott Dixon as he gets down the long back straightaway, turns it off right there, so he knows he's got a good enough gap to use it coming to the start-finish line, and he has driven the perfect race today.
Newgarden's close.
This is the last passing opportunity coming up into Canada corner. One more long stretch where they'll push up to 190 miles an hour, and it's not going to happen through there. Back up the hill through 14. It was thought to be a Penske weekend, but Scott Dixon, the master, is going to take the checkered flag and win for the first time in Road America and the first time in 2017. Wow. And listen to the thunder to celebrate the win for Scott Dixon. Newgarden, Castroneves, Pagenaud, Power, it's Penske 2 through 5, but it was Ganassi's Scott Dixon who jumped them all.
Ryan Hunter-Reay still defending for the last spot on the track, it seems. Hinchcliffe and Hunter-Reay are going to battle to the line. Hinchcliffe has a run, he might get him. Side by side, that's 14th position.
There was great stuff all throughout this race today. Yeah, we talk about who's up front, but every position matters, and they were going at it like it was for a literal championship.
This is, to me, a massive exceptional. And you don't see Dixon do donuts that often. He's normally cool and collected. He knows how big it is for him and his team to beat Penske on a weekend like that.
Well, we also thought in our pre-race meetings that maybe this is a turning point of the season, a midway point. Penske coming alive, dominating the weekend. It could turn the balance, to shift all the balance of power to Penske, but the Ganassi team responds. And here's Mike Hall. Let's hear what he has to say.
Well, of course, for Mike Hall and for Scott Dixon, first win of the season. This is one that took some patience and took some strategy. How gratifying.
It's really terrific. I mean, we raced the way we like to race, and we got it done today. It's gratifying to win with Scott every time you do it.
Now, the decision really came when you had an opportunity to go with the red sidewall tires on the next to last stop. Was that the deciding factor?
I think it was. You know, we talked about it quite a bit here on the timing stand, trying to decide what to do. But we thought, you know, if we can leapfrog a couple of guys, which we did do in the pits, the out lap in the next lap is going to be pretty significant while those guys are sliding around on black tires, just trying to get them up to speed because everybody's trying to save just a bit of fuel. And the lap times were significantly different between the reds and the blacks once that happened. You know, once the blacks came into their own. So I think that was a big turning point.
And it was a turning point because the very next lap there was a caution. They dodged one. Kevin?
Fantastic team effort for Chip Ganassi Racing and Mike Hull celebrating this weekend his 25th anniversary. Scott Dixon wins at Road America. You've been watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by KOHLER, living on the leading edge of design and technology since 1873. And by United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. We talk to the winner next. Scott Dixon is pulled into victory lane at Road America. First time here, 41st time over his career. One behind Michael Andretti. Mario Andretti is starting to get a little bit more within range, and everyone will bow down to the master, A.J. Foyt. What a drive today for Dixon. Joseph Newgarden and Helio Castroneves also will celebrate podiums. For Helio, it's the 13th podium since his last win in 2014 at Detroit. Newgarden challenged for a little while, but didn't have anything for Dixon. We talked about it coming in. This was thought to be a Penske weekend, and I said, Townsend, how many times have we thought we knew exactly what was going to happen, and it didn't turn out that way?
That's what we love about IndyCar, and it really came down to that mid-race yellow where Newgarden was hung out on the harder compound tire. But here's our winner.
Let's watch him climb out and send it down to Katie Hargan.
And Scott Dixon dethrones Team Penske for the very first win of his 2017 season. Scott, the entire Penske brigade behind you. How did you hold them off today?
A lot of it was strategy, right tires at the right time, so a lot of credit to the team. But so happy, obviously, for NTT Data and Honda. You know, this is not a track that should be suited to us, but everything just went well. And I can't thank the team enough. This was just not what I expected, you know, with all the troubles we had today, but so pumped for the whole team.
Here's when you took the lead on lap 31. Walk me through that pass, Scott.
Yeah, Joseph made it easy. He was on black tires for me, so it was around the outside. He gave me plenty of room, which, you know, I'm definitely very thankful for that. It looks like he had a bit of a moment, but that was where we won the race. You know, I was just hoping that wasn't going to be the scenario on the last restart for us, but had a good punch out of the last corner, and that Honda power definitely took us across the line.
You've had the same voice on the radio for 14 years now. How does that change stressful situations?
Well, it's great in days like these, right? You know, Mike's, you know, always full of a lot of information and just helping me through the race, and always calm, you know, even when I get pretty crazy out there sometimes under the helmet. But yeah, just it's fantastic, obviously celebrating his 25 years with Ganassi Racing, and I'm just so happy. This is awesome. I wish Emma and Poppy and Tilly were here, but hi to them. Obviously Emma's in England with her family, so big hi to them.
Robin, he has a reputation for turning it up the second half of the season. He now leads by 34 points.
Joseph, I know it's not very much consolation, but I think you had fastest lap of the race and you drove a hell of a race. You just got unlucky when you were on blacks and the yellow came out. That really probably cost you the race.
Yeah, you know, you can't predict that stuff. You know, I think our strategy was spot on. You know, we were doing what we needed to do to stay out front there all day. You can't predict those yellows. Sometimes they fall your way and sometimes they don't. Today they didn't fall our way. You know, Dixon did a great job. Him and the whole Ganassi team. You know, they deserve the win, obviously, with the job they did. But I felt good about what we had. You know, we had 4 strong cars all weekend with Team Penske, so it stings a bit that we didn't get the win. But it was fun driving this DeVilbiss car all weekend. Looked good. You couldn't miss us. If we did have the fast lap, that's pretty cool. But you know, proud of our guys. Just disappointed we weren't able to get it done.
At the end, you had more push to pass, but it just seemed like he was timing it. He was kind of keeping an eye on you. Did you feel like maybe you had something?
You know, it got so difficult when we were up to temperature. You know, he did a better job on the restart. He had a little more temp, but then when I got up to temperature, I felt like we were quicker, but you know, it's so difficult to pass when you're up to full temperature and he's as quick as he is. And I think we were quicker than him, but not enough to where we could get a big run. You know, we're just slightly quicker. So, you know, wrong place, wrong time on that restart. We needed to be in the lead.
All right, 4 podiums for this young man, Marty.
Elio Castroneves debriefing with Jonathan Duguid, and a little bit tougher one to swallow, Elio, because you were close enough to the lead and in the lead for a while that you probably tasted that win, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Team Penske did a phenomenal job. Rev Group car was actually really good, especially in the beginning. I was taking it easy, saving a lot of fuel actually. And when we put the blacks on, I knew that was going to be rough, but Joseph ended up getting the best of ours. But and then we exchanged pits, we passed them again, and it was, but definitely in the end, Scott ended up doing a very good job saving fuel, going a lap further, and they were fast for sure. It's a shame. The car was really good, no question. But when you battle this close with everyone, it's a matter of one detail. But in the end of the day, good points for the championship.
I got to ask you about that final stop. Seemed to be a bit of miscommunication between you and Jonathan Duguid. You came in a lap earlier than he was expecting. What happened?
Well, on the debrief, we mentioned that if turn 14, the blue light comes on, you come right away, and the light came in, but I'm sure obviously they have a little buffer, and they knew exactly what's going on. He said keep going, but I couldn't quite understood. See, Roger, that's what happens. We got to have you back. But in the end of the day, it didn't cost us in terms of a win or I think a second place, and Joseph was really strong, and in the end of the day, P3, that's what we got today.
Yet another podium for Elio Castroneves, and stays in there in that championship hunt.
Very much so. He is third in the championship, 37 back, 3 behind his teammate Simon Pagenaud, and it's Scott Dixon who extends his championship lead with his first win of the season. He is the 8th different winner in 10 races this season. Now, we've still got more here from Road America, but after we're done, stay tuned for IndyCar next, reviewing the 101st Indianapolis 500. You'll want to see that. And it was a great day for Scott Dixon, visiting with fans to start and then dominating on track. That was the pass that got him the lead for good. Welcome back to Elkhart Lake in Road America, where we have seen an impressive drive by Scott Dixon, topping the 4 Penskes who have been quick all weekend to win for the 41st time in his IndyCar career. And Dixon expands his championship advantage to now 34 on Simon Pagenaud, who came home in the 4th position, the 3rd of the 4 Penskes. Will Power in 5th. By the way, this is the 23rd different track Scott Dixon has won at now. Only 5 active tracks without a win. But one of the guys that was very much in the storyline, a lot of action today for Alexander Rossi, and Katie has found him.
But it was a 4-stop strategy for Rossi. Looking back retrospectively, Alex, do you wish it would have been 3?
No, because without the yellow, I think we would have finished 5th. With the yellow, we could have finished 8th, but we had a front wing failure on the last stop. So it's really unfortunate because from there we couldn't do anything.
And he is actually, we've seen several drivers, well, he's got to come catch a flight soon, but we want to ask him about this contact with Tony Kanaan.
Well, I had the front wing failure at this point, so he had a huge run on me. And yeah, clipped the back of me, and it's really unfortunate. I'm glad he's okay.
And that's it from Alex. Robin?
All right, good thing here. This kid's finished 4th, Simon Pagenaud. His car looked like an off-road car, though. You had an excursion. I don't think anybody saw you sneak off the track. You were fast today, but just not quite fast enough.
No, yeah, we flew under the radar. Yeah, you didn't see my off-course, so we recovered well. But it was just an interesting day. A lot of strategy in play on tires. You know, we started on blacks, which I thought worked really well. But then fuel had a big part of at every stint. If you could go a lap longer, that was gaining you a lot of time. And we didn't have as much fuel efficiency as Dixon. Joseph did a tremendous job on the first stint, and I think that's what helped him a lot. But personally, the car was great. It's just one of these days, all 4 guys at the front were really fast, and we raced each other hard, but couldn't really... didn't have enough push to pass there at the end, unfortunately, but it was a good time. Great to have the Menards car here. You know, this is Wisconsin, so it's the home state. And
if I'd have told you before the race started...
Don't interrupt me like that, Robin. What is this?
I don't have media training like you. You have a Penske media training now.
Yes, I do, actually.
If I would have said before the race, one of the 4 Penske cars isn't going to win, you'd have told me?
No, it's a shame. We missed that one. The cars were dominant this weekend. It's really a shame we didn't bring a win for the team.
The other thing is that the point race, I mean, Dixon, he finally wins the race. You know he's going to be tough a couple places. He's probably the only guy that could have messed this day up for Team Penske.
Yeah, I mean, he's always there. You know, whatever car he's going to be in, he's always going to be a threat in the championship. This guy is very talented. He's doing a tremendous job right now. So we've got to find, we need to be able to win on where we can win. And this is going to be here. This was going to be here, and it has to be Iowa as well, where we should have a little advantage with our Chevrolet Aero kits. So we'll work hard in 2 weeks and try to get that win.
Thanks, kid. Marty?
Let's see if Will Power agrees with that. Robin was just asking Simon if it's a disappointment that Team Penske didn't take advantage where you guys had kind of been dominant all weekend. He said, yeah, probably was. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was obviously disappointing for one of our cars not to win. Dixon was obviously very fast and getting good fuel mileage, so it was going to be tough to beat.
There were a lot of reviews today with you. You told me had a ton of battles going on out there. It was an eventful day, wasn't it?
It was eventful. I kept coming out of the pits on cold tires and battling with people with warm tires. So yeah, it was just trying to keep position all the time. Didn't quite have the car, but still 5th place is good points.
How frustrating is the game of trying to make time but trying to save fuel at the same time?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's hard when you got someone breathing down your neck. You know, Dixon was all over me in the first stint. Andy went a lap longer. I think we had the fuel to do it. We just, you know, weren't confident that we'd make the lap. But yeah, I like it when you can just push hard. But that's IndyCar. It's you know, you got to be able to do every single discipline, including saving fuel.
There you go. It's very tough to save fuel and make time at the same time. Will Power, though, as he mentions, good points day. Yanni comes home 5th.
And Marty, you talked about, certainly Will Power talking about it's great to push hard. The man who has the saying, of course, attack, no chance, is Takuma Sato. And I first have to ask you, after that pretty heavy accident that amazingly your car continued, how's the neck?
Well, neck was fine. It's obviously a lot of sharp pain, and got an injured neck and injured car today for the rest of the day after the kink incident.
You unbuckled at the scene. Was that because you thought the car was damaged, or because you thought I shouldn't go any longer with this neck?
No, it was thought it was the engine was stalled by that time, and wasn't sure if we could continue that. But the safety crew come and fired up an engine, so come back to the pit and buckled again, and I was able to continue.
All right, they said the car was okay. He said he could continue. Now he said he can't move his neck, but he's got some time now to recover.
All right, thank you, Jan. Also want to mention Jan has been sprinting the paddock. We wanted to find Tony Kanaan to get his thoughts. Happy to hear that he's okay, but we're told that Kanaan, unavailable, had already left the facility. So we've still got more to come. Stay with us. Highlights. We'll recap the race in a moment. It's been a fantastic weekend in Elkhart Lake, Road America. Looking forward already to coming back next year in a fantastic race as well. Let's recap it, guys.
Well, pretty aggressive start from everybody. Scott Dixon looking up the inside, 3 wide with Graham Rahal around the outside. They made it through clean on that lap, but it wouldn't be the case through the rest of the race.
We had a lot of incidents throughout the race and a lot of near incidents. Here's Will Power and Alexander Rossi coming together just a little bit, and Rossi gets pushed off a bit wide.
A lot of archie-bargy going on all day with Will Power. Here we see Sato ran wide at the kink, huge off, flying through the air, cars bouncing all over the place like a bucking bronco. He thought the car was broke. They came, fired it up. He's like, oh, I guess I'll go finish the race.
That was our first yellow, set up a restart, and Joseph Newgart was on the primary blacks, and Scott Dixon took advantage.
The master laid down his authority here, riding the high side in turn one, around the outside to take the position. And this was Hinchcliffe. Contact, not really heavy contact with Will Power, but it broke the steering arm, forced Hinchcliffe to pit for lengthy repairs.
Hinchcliffe finished back in 20th. Meanwhile, this was a bit frightening and disturbing.
Very big crash for Tony Kanaan. We couldn't find him after the race. He has left the track, but that is a huge crash. Lucky he didn't get hurt. But today, it was all Scott Dixon, Townsend Bell, and that is a tough pill to swallow for the Penske guys. You can see it in their post-race interviews, the disappointment.
And Scott Dixon celebrating in hugely deserved fashion. Scott Dixon, really no weakness in his game other than the occasional bad luck. But Kevin, if that's behind Scott, if the bad luck is gone, we are in for a heck of a championship battle, because those 4 Penske cars are going to be lightning fast down the stretch.
And the Honda and Chevy Aero kits each have advantages, disadvantages at certain tracks. Iowa is coming up next. We think that might be a Chevy track, but we'll see.
Guy we didn't talk about all day that salvaged a good result was Rahal. He was going backwards at the beginning, but salvaged an 8th, and that has kept him alive in the points race in 7th position overall.
And he's somebody, Graham Rahal is, that at Iowa could have a really big night. That's always a great short oval.
Well, it has been a wonderful weekend here in Wisconsin. Coming up next, it's IndyCar next, the 101st Indy 500. IndyCar continues on NBCSN. Join us in 2 weeks, Sunday, July 9th at 5 o'clock Eastern for the Iowa Corn 300. And be sure to tune in early for the Indy Lights race at 4 o'clock. For more info on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. For Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Marty Snyder, Jan Beekes, Katie Hargan, and Robin Miller, I'm Kevin Lee. Congratulations to Scott Dixon.